Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NintendoFuse Podcast. This is episode 216, entitled The Game of the Year 2020. It is that time of year where we crown our best games of the year, and my name is Steve, and here to talk about all the best games of the year, as always, is Barry. Hey, Barry, how's it going?
Hey Steve, always a pleasure, and been looking forward to this for a while now.
Absolutely, and looking pretty snazzy there, as you
Nada.
we get to celebrate the best of 2020. Also joining us as usual is Greg. Hey, Greg, how's it going?
Going great. Can't wait to get into the topics tonight.
Absolutely. We have a lot to cover tonight. In addition to our Game of the Year picks, there was some recent news that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the Game Awards and what was announced and what was kind of shown off, but also the awards that were given during that presentation last week. And also we had a little indie showcase today, this morning. And so we're going to cover that real quick before we get into the game, or our Game of the Year awards. So just kind of let you guys know what the lay of the land is tonight. But we thank you guys so much, especially those that are joining us live right now in the chat. There's already some good conversations starting up there. We see it already. So be sure to let us know your thoughts on the news we talk about tonight, but also your Game of the Year picks as well. I know a lot of us have had, you guys have had an opportunity to share your Game of the Year picks in our Discord, and we'll be kind of just glancing through those and acknowledging those as best as we can tonight as well. But feel free to throw those in the chat room so that everybody else can see it during our live show. It's gonna be great. We know we had some good conversation already. You know, it's already going. So yeah. Keep it up throughout the show tonight. If you are new to the NintendoFuse podcast, if you're new to the NintendoFuse YouTube channel and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, you haven't hit the like button, the share button, all the bell button, all the buttons, be sure to do that. And also share this with other people that you know would enjoy this kind of content. Just a heads up that we will be off after this episode. We're going to be taking a break for the holiday season and then be back again in 2021, January 2021, which is crazy. That's 2020 is almost behind us. Just kind of a heads up so you guys know. So normally we're on a week-to-week kind of schedule, and so if you're like, hey, where's the podcast? You know ahead of time that we're going to be back in January. So enjoy the holiday season, and if you are, if for some strange reason you're missing us next week and you're like, I really want to hear Steve, Greg, and Barry, just check out our past podcasts. We got 215 that you can listen to in our backlog. So check out an old one in the meantime. But yeah, all that's out of the way. I forgot. Of course, we want you guys to follow us on social media. So at NintendoFuse on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Also, make sure you follow us or join our Discord and talk about all the games that you've been playing over the holiday season. We'd love to keep this conversation going in between episodes. Even though we're off the podcast for a couple weeks, we will be pretty active in the Discord. So that's a great way to keep that conversation going. But yeah, so there's a lot to talk about tonight. We're probably going to go over our hour limit that we normally try to shoot for, about an hour. It's probably going to go a little longer tonight, but before we jump into any of the news, all of our picks, let's talk as briefly as possible about what we've been playing over this last week, so that we can save a lot of more time for the news and our picks. So, Barry, what have you been playing over this last week?
Still doing Animal Crossing. The new recipes just came out today. Back to balloons. The snowmen are out and need to die in a fire. I swear, for the most casual game on the planet, I've never raged more at a video game than Animal Crossing with this stupid snowman, where it's like, oh, you got it 90%. Screw you. You have to wait till tomorrow. What? Come on. You got to measure exactly what it is. Like, kids aren't going to do that. I'm not even doing that. Screw it. It's a terrible game design. The person should be fired. I've been on the PS5. I did finish Immortals, Phoenix Rising, and great game. Not qualified for the game of the year because it came out in December, but great game. Really had a lot of fun. On the PS4, I started playing some Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. That was a good part of my high school, and it was just great to revisit some of those levels again, with some new music and some old. So thankfully, Superman is there because that would just say no to playing it without Goldfinger. And I'm playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order now. It's a game I wanted to play, and it's kind of cool. It's like Star Wars Uncharted. I'm having some fun with it. I like the combat. I like the graphics for sure, and the music.
Yeah.
And PC wise, I'm still playing Final Fantasy 14. New patch just dropped Tuesday, so there's a ton of new content. And on the mobile, still Mario Kart Tour. Racing in the latest tournament that ends tonight. And Dragalia Lost just started a brand new event, so I've been doing that.
Cool. Going to the chat real quick. I'm apologizing. I don't know if it's Carolyn or Caroline. I think both of those names are spelled the same way, and I don't know how to pronounce that one. But anyway, it says that end of the year wrap up to be expected, and wanting balloons. So I have a feeling that this person is related or connected to Mike, because Mike always wants us to have balloons as well.
No, she's referring to the balloons in Animal Crossing.
Oh, okay. I just thought they meant our balloons. Mike always wants us to have balloons. But tonight would have been good. That would have been a good idea for us to have balloons tonight. Anyway, Jakester says that he's to Chapter 4 in Trials of Mana and is working through the new Christmas event in FGO, and that's really about it. And Jesse Glenn said tried a little Zoids, and Caroline. It is Caroline. Okay, cool. I'm glad that you clarified that for us. Sorry, Caroline. I'm glad I got that right now. So, Greg, what have you been up to over this last week?
Still pretty busy. I was trying to get some last minute picks in for our Game of the Year podcast, which I actually got some to squeeze in there. So that's kind of exciting. So still playing Animal Crossing, but over the last 4 days or so, I haven't actually logged in. I need to do that because I hear snowman making is a lot of fun from Barry, and still have to catch the last bug. So that's kind of something I still need to look forward to getting done. We're still playing Mario Kart 8 and a little bit of Super Smash Brothers here and there. The major new addition to our lineup with my daughter this time is Super Mario Odyssey. Ooh. So she's had a lot of fun exploring around on my account. We found like another 10 more moons on mine, and then she wanted to start her own. So then now I'm kind of getting a fresh playthrough of the game through her eyes as she's going through the Sand Kingdom and Cascade Kingdoms already. So then she's already onto the Wooded one. So it's been a lot of fun kind of going revisiting that game. I almost want to collect more moons on my own profile. But
yeah,
there's tons of games in my backlog, so I don't know how much that will happen. So
nice.
Let's see. I think that was pretty much it on Switch. And we were still playing Mario Kart Wii and Super Mario Power Tennis for GameCube on the Wii, because Wii plays GameCube games. Then still doing Fire Emblem Heroes. They just updated to 5.0 and have Book 5 that just launched, so that's kind of cool there. And then I did keep up with the Mario Kart Tour this time around. I don't know how long I'll continue to play it, but I don't know. I really don't like the controls, but I'm still having fun getting first place and destroying everybody and others in that ranked mode. So I don't know how long that will last.
Nice. Going quickly to chat again. Looks like King Koopa is talking about his depressing backlog, and we hear you, King Koopa. Man, there's so many games and so little time. But he has been playing Super Mario 35. I have not touched Super Mario 35 in a while. Jesse Glenn said he picked up the 2 Ori titles, and certainly tempting for him to play. Great games. And so I've been playing a lot this last week, but really the no surprise at all. The game that I spent the most time with is Rocket League. Season 2 came out last week, and yeah, just kind of grinding away to trying to get higher and higher in the ranks. And I've actually, not only am I think several episodes ago, I talked about how I was able to get platinum and kind of like midway through platinum. I got platinum in like several different categories of play this time around in season 1, so that was pretty exciting. So I feel like I'm continuing to improve. They've added some really cool stuff. So yeah, and Jakester, we just gotta play sometime. So let's make it happen over this holiday break. We're gonna play some Rocket League together. All right, so let's talk briefly about some news that happened recently. Greg, do you mind walking us through what happened with this the indie showcase that kind of came out of nowhere, right? Like we thought we were done with the Nintendo news stuff. We've been getting these like miniature like mini directs and everything, partner showcases, and then all of a sudden an indie world comes out of nowhere and lands on us this morning. So kind of walk us through what we saw from this presentation.
Yeah, so pretty much it was like a right around 18-minute video, and they showcased, I think, around 15 to 20 games. I don't have the exact number. I did write all of the ones down though, so I can jump through it really quick. It was Spelunky 1 and 2. It's like a kind of an action adventure type game platformer that will be released next summer. Then there was a very unusual Fisty Fluffs, like a cat fighting game. All these I didn't mark down the release date, so I apologize. I know a number of them were next year, and there was even some that have launched today, so I didn't quite get all those notes in my personal list. So after that, there was like a driving game, Very Very Ballet. Then there was also Tunch. It's like a hack and slash kind of fighter game. Yacht Club Games has their next game called Cyber Shadow that releases on January 26th. It's like an action platformer game, and it even actually works with Shovel Knight amiibos. There's a Calico Cat game that's going to be coming out. I heard it's kind of similar theme to Animal Crossing, where you just kind of build and craft stuff and make like a little cat village. There's Alba, a wildlife adventure, an adventure type game. It was I'm definitely gonna butcher this one. It's like Nocia. It's like GNO through in like 15 to 25 minutes, and you just select different options as you're going through the story. And even the creator was saying it's pretty hard to even get the exact same ending each time. So that's certainly interesting there. There's the name of the game is Happy Game, but it's an actual horror game, so that's kind of fun. Super Meat Boy Forever is going to be coming to Switch. It's obviously a very challenging platformer, requires very much precision and speed. And there's a Grindstone that's like a puzzler, like a combo building game that I guess kind of similar to like Candy Crush, except you can make little snake patterns and stuff. Then this is where they did like the fast headlines. There was When the Past Was Around. It's like a point and click game. There's the Cosmocrats puzzle game. Hoa, an adventure and nature game. Hazel Sky, one that I thought might be another point and click, but I'm not quite sure. It could be an adventure game. There's Trash Sailors, it's kind of like a shoot 'em up type game. Finding Paradise, another adventure game. And then there, one more thing was a game called Among Us, and there was like a multiplayer game where you can kind of fool other players into thinking that somebody is responsible for like the graffiti and different miscellaneous fun activities. You can destroy stuff and knock stuff over, and you got to work together to figure out who's the actual culprit, what's behind it.
Nice.
That's pretty much the main notes I had there.
Yeah. So we got to see a lot. Barry, what stood out to you for this indie showcase? Whatever, they keep changing the names of these things, and I don't know how to keep track of them. But whatever they showed off this morning, what stood out to you?
It was nice to see Spelunky 1 and 2. Hopefully they get a physical combined. Nocia looked fantastic to me. It had that that visual novel look, but it was like the quick play type of experience. And I love those deceptive games like Avalon, where you had to try to figure things out. So that looked good. Cyber Shadow looked great. Looked like a sequel to Messenger, but it just looked like a lot of fun. Grindstone looked kind of interesting. But then, of course, I Am 8-Bit just stealthily like, oh, yeah, there's a physical, so I'm already grabbing that one. And Among Us, a game that I've never played and I've heard some good things, and that's a shadow drop. And I guess the only other one that kind of intrigued me was Happy Game, just because I'm not a fan of horror games, but like the psychological horror kind of intrigues me, and I don't know, there's something unsettling about it, but also like it draws me in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same here. I don't think I've ever really played like a true on like psychological horror game. I enjoy psychological horror like movies and stuff, so that's really interesting. Spelunky is something that I definitely think I'm gonna enjoy. I played very little of the last games. I think just because I don't know, life happened or whatever. For some reason I didn't really get much time with it, so it's cool to see it's coming over and the sequel. Just interesting that it's going to take that long to at least even bring Spelunky 1 over. I was actually expecting that to drop sooner, and then 2 maybe next summer. That makes sense, but it was shocking to see that it's going to take that long for 1 as well. But yeah, I think the Among Us is going to be fun. I've not played Among Us on computer, but I played on my phone, my tablet, and I don't like the on-screen controls. So to be able to actually use a controller to play Among Us is really exciting for me, because it's a really fun game. If you played games like Murder or Mafia or Town of Salem or something like that, it's very similar kind of game, but very active, and you gotta figure out who's the imposter among us and vote them off before they kill you. So it's kind of it's a fun game, and it's cool because you can play in person or online with other players. And I'm guessing that, I don't think they really talked about it, but I'm guessing it's going to be cross-platform as well, and so that's really cool.
Yeah, I believe.
So yeah, Greg, what stood out to you?
I was definitely interested in Spelunky 1 and 2. I'd never actually played those before or really heard of them. So, I mean, that looks like kind of games. I love those action-adventure type games. Those seem to be some of the main, at least 2 of the highest like ones that I really would like. The Yacht Club game Cyber Shadow definitely looks a lot of fun. That definitely gives like a little touch of like Shovel Knight kind of mixed in there, because it's still like a 8-bit type game, and it's just really really action and difficult oriented. Those were the main 2 that I would pretty much definitely sold on already. There's a number of other ones that might be looking more into, like even Vista Fluffs. I don't know if my daughter might like something like that. That Nausea game seems like it could be kind of fun to unlock different endings. And then Among Us, if we find time to play that as a family or something. I don't know if that would work, or if it's more for online. Don't really know too much about that, so I was gonna look into that some more.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I did note is, I don't know if anyone noticed, but during the Grindstone portion, when they were showing the leaderboards, there was they had a reference to Tiger King with like Carol Basket as like one of the person's high score names. So
nice.
I thought that was very funny.
Yeah, I didn't actually get to see that. That's funny.
That is awesome.
I was like freeze framing it, and I was like, "Wait, is that what it says? What I think it says."
Nice. Looks like some people are saying in the chat that they thought this was kind of a snooze fest this time. Also, Tunchi and Fisty Fluffs were the highlights for Jakester. Yeah, it looks like some people are like, hey, they already got Among Us on PC or whatever, so I'm not going to be playing it on Switch. But that's cool, though. I mean, the cool thing is that it's available on more platforms so that more players can get into it. So it's not like you have to continue, get it on all the systems. You don't have to do like I did and have Rocket League on everything. But just get it on something and play it. So that's pretty cool. All right, cool. So a surprise thing, but it maybe didn't have something for everyone. But it is a cool thing that we were definitely not expecting. But going back to last week, we actually had the Game Awards. I hear it's called the Last of Us 2 Awards. That's more appropriately named. I think someone made that comment earlier in the chat. I'm just going to acknowledge that I stole it from them. So Barry, walk us through what kind of awards were actually given out specifically to Nintendo platforms and stuff. And then we also got a little bit of some surprises that happened during the show as well.
So if you just play on the Switch and that is your only system, this award show was not very kind to you. Animal Crossing did take home Best Family Game. It was nominated, of course, for Game of the Year, but lost. And Hades got 2 titles, Best Indie and Best Action. That was it. That was it for the Switch. Everything else that did come out, that one was for other systems. Unfortunately, even like most anticipated, Breath of the Wild did not win that one, or Breath of the Wild, the sequel. There were some, of course, world premieres and surprises. For Switch, the big one is going to be the new Smash character, which I know there were tons of people that are ecstatic and screaming and just having the greatest of time. And of course, it's Sephiroth of Final Fantasy VII. I understand it, but I'm still annoyed. And the main reason I'm annoyed is not for those rabid fans that absolutely love Sephiroth. It's because the representation. And what I mean by that is if you look at Square, let's take Square exactly from that. They have another big RPG series called Dragon Quest. And Dragon Quest got 1 DLC fighter. And that 1 DLC fighter represents 4 games with playable characters on top of more represented in the Final Smash. And you get 1 stage plus music from all the well, not all, but a lot of the different games. And Dragon Quest has 11 games plus spin-offs. Final Fantasy, a series with 15 games and a bunch of spin-offs, has their second character. Both characters represent the same game. Both stages will represent the same game, and music will all represent the same game. A game that didn't even launch originally on Nintendo. And to me, that is just not enough representation for a series with 15 games. Harkening back to the NES, I think that's just catering really to the fanboys, and maybe that was Square's choice, and that's what Square wanted because of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, another game catering to the fanboys. But it still saddens me in terms of representation for DLC. That's me personally. There were some other things. There was a new Ghosts and Goblins remake announced. There was the Capcom Arcade platform that was announced with a freebie game, and some other really interesting titles. For me, the announcement that stole the show was right at the end, which was the next Mass Effect, which looks amazing, and the series that briefly appeared on the Nintendo platform with the Wii U version of Mass Effect 3. And the remastered trilogy is not going to the Switch, but hopefully with the Switch Pro or Switch 2. But yeah, there was a bunch of different announcements. And overall, they had like the Mario medley. It wasn't a bad show, but as alluded to, it was the Last of Us 2 awards because they pretty much won everything.
Yep. Yeah, it was. I feel like I paid a little more attention than I have in the past years. This time around, it was. I was intrigued. I think a lot of times by what I saw from the other world premieres. Like it's cool to see where games are going in the future. So that is really cool. But overall, it was kind of not that exciting for a Nintendo fan. Greg, did you get a chance to watch, and what'd you think?
I actually did watch. This is the first time I've actually watched the Game Awards, so I just kind of had it on more for background. We were doing a number of other things, like we were also watching like a Christmas movie and like other thing. Like it was kind of funny. Like my wife was watching it on the TV. I was using this like my laptop to stream the Game Awards, and my daughter was playing on like an iPad. So it was like all 3 of us were in the same room on different screens. So
Nice.
It was kind of interesting. Yeah. A lot of it I was kind of tuning out because I don't not super familiar with like these Xbox and PlayStation games very much, but it was still like I recognized like the Smash like logo thing like up, and I was like, okay, focus, like see what's going on here, and then didn't even know who it was because I never played Final Fantasy VII. So that part didn't really do much for me, and it's still not going to sell me on the second Fighter's Pass yet. So.
Interesting. Yeah, I've played Final Fantasy VII, but I only played the original game, so he didn't look like that.
No, it definitely did not.
No, not at all. But it is interesting to see. I mean, like, yeah, that kind of representation stuff. I mean, like, you wonder, like, are they actually going to try to like bring over the remaster to it, or are they just gonna like, you know what, like, this is the best we can do, sorry, we parted ways back then, we know it was supposed to go on 64 and blah blah and everything, so we're just gonna, like, here's a little love for Final Fantasy VII now, use our characters in Smash. But
7 is on the Switch as well.
Well, yes, I guess now
7, 8, 9.
yeah yeah, but not the remastered
No,
one.
not the remake.
Yeah, remake. Yeah. But let's go to this chat real quick. I know there's a lot of conversation about the Game Awards. Jakester it was Jakester that called the Last of Us Awards. So thanks, Jakester, for giving me those words. Yes, I'm a thief. And then Jared said Breath of the Wild 2 got snubbed for most anticipated. I agree. I'm surprised a little bit, but yeah, not exactly considering the rest of the show.
I think if we actually had like an official, more of like a different trailer, I think it might have had more of a chance. But since it's been on complete radio silence since its reveal, I mean, I think even when Breath of the Wild was coming out, when we had that very first initial tease one forever ago, just with the Guardian, it was like all those analysis done by Game Explain and stuff. But then they at least showed a few different trailers throughout the few years of development that it had to go through after it was supposed to come out by that point. So
yeah,
the good Link is a girl trailer.
Right. Let's see. Dave says it gives him reason to play Final Fantasy VII finally. Jakester didn't really care for Sephiroth. Played Final Fantasy VII, but we'll try him anyway. Same here. Like, I'll try all the characters at least, once or twice just to check it out. Jared would have hoped for Sora for another Square rep, but Sephiroth was better than the Fortnite guy. Caroline says, I think it's just a matter of Final Fantasy VII Remake coming out this year, and Sephi is super popular dude. Yeah, I think they're just kind of trying to play that as well. Still have hopes for Shantae coming. That'd be really cool as well. Jared's hoping for Sora, Crash, and Spyro eventually. Caroline would also love Rex and Pyra and Mithra as well. We still have how many characters left? 4?
3.
3 left.
Oh no, it is 4. You're right.
Yeah, because there's an extra
There's
one this
7.
time.
No, there's only
There's
6. There's 3 left. Yeah,
the 3.
left.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm excited for 7.
So who knows? Like, hopefully, maybe they're those characters that everybody's been hoping for. Maybe it's gonna happen. We'll see. But Game Awards. Definitely. Overall, I mean, it's unfortunate that the same games keep getting awarded stuff over and over and over again, and it's really unfortunate because, like, I've heard that The Last of Us Part 2 is actually not nearly as good as the Game Awards made it seem. Like, they walked away with all these different awards, and I've heard that a lot of people go, it's kind of got some issues, and it's not really as cool as people have said it is. So, I don't know. Have either of you guys got a chance to play it at all?
I have it. I just haven't played it. I did play the first one, though.
Okay.
No, I haven't played it. Don't have the means to play it.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those games that I think I'll probably watch someone else play at some point. But yeah, I don't know. It seems to be kind of a cinematic kind of a thing anyhow. So maybe I'll just enjoy watching someone else play it sometime. But one thing tonight that is not going to be repeating, I'll just say this, is our Game of the Year awards. As we get into our own picks for the Game of the Year, let me just say right up front that Barry's has been predicting. I can't remember if you actually said this on the podcast or not,
I
but
did. I think I
you
did.
did. Okay, that we are going to have a lot of different picks this year, and as these guys sent their picks to me and I calculated everything, all I'm going to say is that prediction was incredibly accurate for this year. So it's gonna be an interesting Game of the Year tonight. There's gonna be some surprises, and there's gonna be some times where you go, okay, totally saw that coming, and a lot of in between. And it's gonna be fun. So just another quick reminder of what we're gonna be talking about tonight. First, we're gonna be talking about our best, our favorite indie Switch games. So all these actually are, for the most part, Switch games, and so we're going to be talking about the indie games, those less expensive games that are not the AAA top of the line like everybody hears about games, and then we're going to be talking about those third party AAA games, those high quality games that are not Nintendo produced games. Then we're going to be actually moving into the Nintendo produced ones, those ones that are developed and published by Nintendo, those AAA top of the line games. And then also we're going to be talking about tonight, for the first time ever, we're going to be chatting a little bit about our favorite games on non-Nintendo systems as well. So just kind of give a nod. Sometimes maybe this kind of generates some discussion around this, but also we're going to be talking about like games that we hope that we would like to actually see on Nintendo systems. It'd be really cool to actually have these games on a Nintendo system, but we didn't actually get a chance to play them on there yet. And then we're going to be talking, back by popular demand, so fun to talk about the worst games of the year as well. There are lots of bad games out there, and these are the we'll present the worst games that we got to play this year. And then finally, rounding it up, we're going to be talking about our overall Game of the Year. And if you guys are brand new to our Game of the Year awards, just kind of quickly run through our process. We go one by one, and we hit third place, second place, talk about some honorable mentions, and then we declare first for each of those categories. So we'll kind of go around the horn each time, share why we picked it, and then kind of move on. And that way you guys can have a chance to hear what we think about each of those games. And feel free, as we've talked about already, throw your picks in the chat. Or if you have some additional thoughts about our picks, please let us know about that as well. If you're watching after the fact, let us know what your thoughts are about all our picks, but also your own picks. Put those in the comments as well. You guys have anything else to say before we actually get into this, Greg, Barry, and any final thoughts before we start talking about our picks?
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested. Very intrigued to see what you guys pick.
All right. Well, let's start off, as we said earlier, with the best indie Switch games. And Barry, we're going to go to you first. What was your... we'll start off third, second, and then first. So, indie Switch games.
So I didn't play as many indie games this year that launched this year, so my list was kind of short. But coming in third place was a game, Battle Hunters, which was actually shown to me because I had the pleasure of interviewing the creator of the game. It is a third-person, isometric, like top-down role-playing game. It's like a tower defense game where you kind of move the towers with you. Your party is like towers. The combat I found a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the combat. I enjoyed the exploration, the dungeons. It was just one of those things where it got better and better as it got more involved, and swapping out characters to heal, and everyone played differently. And the fighter played differently than the mage, played different than the archer, played different than the ninja. And then later on you get like mechs and like futuristic characters, and it's wildly ambitious for a two-man team, and I just had a lot of fun playing it.
Cool. Greg, how about you?
So, unfortunately, I also didn't really play a ton of indie games this year. So, My number 3 pick is actually a game that debuted on the Wii U, but did release this year on Switch, and that is Adventures of Pip. I really love the platforming style and how you can change between the different modes and be like just a single pixel that can float more, and you can be like a guy that has like a sword, and then it's very cool the way that they combine all the different powers, and you can transform between them by hitting certain enemies, or just actually just hit a button and then you can break into like a previous like state too. So yeah, and a really great job. I really love these type of games. So number 3, Adventures of Pip.
Nice. That is a fun game. I didn't play it on Switch, but I played it on what was the original console? Was it Wii or Wii U?
Wii U.
Wii U.
Yeah. So I played it on that. Really liked it. I feel like I think I alluded to that game. There was another game that was coming out recently, and it reminded me of Adventures of Pip. So cool game. My third place. I actually this was a category that I played a lot more indie games this year, and so we'll talk about in just a second. I played a lot less third-party AAA games, but I played a lot more indie games this year, so it was harder to make some of these picks. But one that I was excited about that during when it was first announced, and didn't get it until a little later on, but I'm pretty fond of it now, and that is a little game called Raji, an Ancient Epic. Really fun game, surrounding this, I believe, Indian culture, and just this really cool, I love the view that you get when you play this game. It just makes it feel like this huge epic adventure. I love that they varied up the difficulty, so you can, like a lot of games nowadays where you can put it on super easy and just kind of cruise through the storyline, because there's a huge storyline there, but then you can also play a more difficulty there. It's got some things that I wish there was a little more action. I wish there was a little more. You get some times where you're just kind of walking, from one place to the next, and not, any, really difficult things that you have to overcome or anything. But then all of a sudden you get to this big battle that you really need to put some solid effort into defeating the enemies and everything. So yeah, I really had fun with Raji and Ancient Epic. All right, back to you, Barry. For number 2.
Oh boy, back to me. All right. So number 2 was a game that I was really interested in playing, specifically because another game was announced this year, which of course was Paper Mario. So this game is Bug Fables. And Bug Fables came out. It is a more traditional Paper Mario style game, more like Paper Mario 64, where you play a group of bugs and you're in the bug kingdom, and everything is big. It was cardboard boxes act as like actual boxes, and soda cans and stuff like that act as like little houses. And the combat is very much, Paper Mario, with the time button at the right time to defend or to attack. And it is tough. There's definitely a difficulty spike that was probably the biggest negative to it. But there's a lot of quests. There's a lot of puzzles to solve, environmental puzzles. The environments are very varied. And if you enjoy Paper Mario and you're like, oh, maybe Origami King didn't do it for you, or you loved Origami King and you just want more of that style, I highly recommend Bug Fables, because it is a lot of fun, and it's just a great game.
Cool. Greg, on to you for number 2.
So this was a game that I bought at the very beginning of the year, back in January, but actually didn't even play it until this last weekend, just to kind of power through it. It's a game called Knighton Plus. So it's kind of, if you were to just play Zelda 1, just playing the inside of the dungeons, this is the kind of game that you would get. You kind of explore through different rooms, and you have like a sword just to like hit the enemies with, and then you're trying to find treasure. There's a lot of humor even built into the little story that it does have, and I just had a lot of fun playing it, and I got to right around 50% after about an hour. I know it's kind of short, but it's also not very expensive. But it was definitely a very great game to play, and definitely recommend it for people looking into one of those dungeon crawler type games.
Nice. I haven't even heard of that game. That's so cool.
Same, and that looks good.
I know. I love that. Like, that's the thing I feel like with a lot of these indie games, especially, like, there's so much out there that, yeah, we have so various picks on this, so that's cool. For my number 2 is a game that a lot of us did not expect to come to Switch. But as a platforming fan, as a person that loves just some amazing graphics, if you can give me great graphics and just pop off the screen and amazing platforming, you're gonna rope me in, and that's exactly what happened with Ori and the Will of the Wisps. So that is my number 2 pick. I mean, it's on the screen right now. Look at that! It's amazing. Just popping off there, and just some cool, like, there's a cool storyline, but it doesn't take over the game. Like, there's still just really quality platforming elements to it and some action there. It's just fun, and you want to just keep playing more and more. So yeah, fantastic game, and so excited that they brought it over to Switch. I know a lot of people did not expect it to happen at all, and yeah, so it's great. If you have not picked up Ori, they do have the 2-pack now, so great opportunity to get it right there. So there we go. All right, Barry, on to you for some honorable mentions if you have some, and then your number 1 indie game.
All right, so I only really have one honorable mention. Again, I just did not play a lot of indie games this year that came out this year. I played a lot of indie games, just not this year. But one honorable mention I just want to briefly mention is Dodo Peak, another one that I had the pleasure of interviewing and talking to the developers, and we had a chance to play it for a game chat, and just a lot of fun, very much like Hubert, and it just missed my top 3, and taking the top spot was a game that I wasn't expecting going into this year because it wasn't announced, of course, but it was announced, and it came out relatively quickly after announcement, and I can't recommend this game enough, and that is Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon 2. If you're a Castlevania fan, specifically Castlevania 3, the Curse of the Moon side of Bloodstained is highly recommended. Indie Creates did the first one. It was done as a little bonus to the Kickstarter for Ritual of the Night, and we got to, as a backer, we got that one for free, and I just fell in love with it. It was just so much fun. So when they announced, oh yeah, we're doing a second one, we're adding more characters, we're adding more levels, we're continuing the story, and then we're bringing back the characters from the first game as well. That's awesome. Indie Creates knows how to do 2D, platforming, NES style action, and they do it so well. There's tons of different paths to the levels, tons of different moves and abilities that you can pick, and you get to play a corgi in a giant robot. Like, name another game that lets you play a corgi in a giant robot. I'll wait, because there is none. It is awesome, and definitely something deserving of your time if you like the Castlevania style games. I definitely recommend this.
Nice. That's so cool. Yes, I'm. You got me with the corgi. I don't know. That may be enough to pick up the game right now. Cool, Greg. How about any honorable mentions and your number 1?
Yeah, the main honorable mention list that I've played would be also Dodo Peak and Battle Hunters. Both great games, and for Battle Hunters, I barely had any time with it. Otherwise, it might have actually made the list. So unfortunately, I had to kind of push it off. The only other honorable mentions I had were actually games you guys listed, but I never actually got. Well, actually, I did get Bloodstained 2, but I actually completely forgot about it and didn't play it. So that would have been an honorable mention. And also Ori, I was really hoping to try to purchase it over this last week, and I just didn't bite the bullet on it. So that was 2 games looked incredible to actually play and include. But as far as my number 1, it was a game that I spent a ton of time in, and that was What the Golf. Normally, I'm not a big golf fan, and I was really advertising it heavily in May when my games played at that time, and it's a golf game that's not golf. So like, you can hit a car into a hole, you can knock over cats. You're not just shooting a ball at the hole, you're shooting whatever. I mean, you even have a joke where you're shooting the arrow at the hole that you're using to aim. So it's the craziest type of golf game that's not quite golf. But very loosely based on golf.
Loosely based. That's a good way of putting it for sure. Yeah, I'm so glad that
I mean, you can see in the trailer, you can like launch a couch, you can like launch the club. I mean, like, it's crazy. It's so fun and so addictive, and they really hit the ball out of the park with that one, or hit the golf ball out of the park.
Or the chair, or yourself. They get to hit a lot of things out of the park, for sure. That's cool. I'm so glad that game came to Switch, because I saw it on Apple Arcade, I think, first, and I was like, that'd be really fun on the Switch, and it finally came. So, all right, cool. Well, those are all great games. But let me tell you the game that I enjoyed, the indie game that I enjoyed the most. I've already told you about how much I enjoy a fantastic looking game and a game that has some good platforming. But take Ori, maybe not as good of graphics as Ori, but still really good graphics, and then you add some extra challenge to it, and that's when you get my game of the year for this year. Oh, honorable mentions though first before I jump into that. Torchlight 3, Hades, The Last Campfire, and also Dodo Peak. Enjoyed Dodo Peak so much more than I thought I would. I was so shocked at how much I enjoyed that game. But the game that I enjoyed the most in terms of indie game this year is a little game called Evergate. I really, really enjoy Evergate. It's another one of those games that we talked about here on the podcast when it was announced, and I remember looking at it and going, oh my gosh, this looks interesting. And then you finally get into it, and there's so much more challenge than I ever thought there was just looking at it. So not only is there platforming elements, but you have to chain these jumps and leaps together in order to get through each of these stages. And as you go, you develop more and more power-ups, and it's just like chaining all this stuff together. Just it really challenges my mind. Where you get to a new stage and you look at it and you go, okay, like I think I know how to do this, and it's one of those games that you have to jump, like you jump into, but then you want to do it again because you're like, I can do that level better. And every time you die, you're like, oh, I was so close. And so the replay value is there, and you want, even though it's challenging, it's not too challenging where it makes me just want to throw the controller and shut it down, where I'm like, I was so close, let me do it again. So that was a pretty cool experience with Evergate, and I'm still liking it. I haven't finished it yet. But really, really fun. So if you haven't played Evergate yet, definitely check that out. Greg, you forgot an honorable mention. Is that right? Oh, you're muted. Here.
Greg, are you there?
Greg, are you there? It says you muted yourself.
Yes, I unmuted the wrong thing. I unmuted the podcast, like live stream on YouTube, and not the actual call. Yes, The Last Campfire is what I was going to nominate.
Okay.
Because that was a really good game that I should have mentioned.
Cool. All right, well, that is our indie picks. Let's move on now to our third-party AAA Switch games. There's been a lot of cool chat. A lot of people are just kind of chiming in with us so far and saying, yeah, I also like that game. I really like that.
There were some picks in there, though.
Yeah, like
Jared said Boomerang Foo and What the Golf. Cool. Justy said Mother Russia Bleeds.
Nice.
King Koopa said Owlboy, but that wasn't this year.
We picked old games before.
Yeah.
During those Wii U era games. Yeah. So, this is cool because I love how this is already, what I'm seeing as well is a lot of people are saying, wow, I haven't played that game. I wasn't sure about it, but it's cool to hear what you guys are saying about it. And it's kind of turning them on to some of these games. So that's really cool. And of course, Jesse says Dog from Wild Guns is like Corgi Mech. So I've not played Wild Guns either. So maybe there's kind of two games, I guess, with corgis in it.
Similar.
Nice. All right, cool. Well, let's move on to our AAA third-party games. You know what? Let's just, if you guys don't have any problem with it, we'll just keep going in the same order that we have been going. So, Barry, you get to go first again.
Well, my number 3 pick is actually one that Jakester said his game of the year for third party is, and that is Trials of Mana. I have always loved the Mana series since playing Final Fantasy Adventure, and I was so excited to finally see this game getting localized. And this is actually the second localization on the Switch, because you have the 2D version on the Collection of Mana, and this is the full-blown remake in 3D. It is varied, it is open. There's 6 characters you get to pick, and every character has their own story, which is great. Because when you play through the game, whatever characters you pick will influence the story, and you'll see villains and you'll see scenarios based on those characters. And then if you replay it with other characters, you'll see different villains and different scenarios. And I like that because it is a sprawling adventure. I mean, they did a great job revitalizing this SNES world into 3D, and then they actually added onto it with a whole new end section that is really cool. It really tests you, and it just makes you want to keep playing. You can upgrade your classes, and really even upgrading your classes, like in standard games like Final Fantasy, you go from warrior to knight. Like, that's your only way to upgrade. In this, you actually get to choose light and dark when you start, and each one is different. And then when you upgrade again, you get to go light or dark again. So that's like, it branches off, and it's not so you pick light, dark, light, dark, and you at the end you have 4 different versions of every character. And then in the additional content, there's an additional level to go up, which is great because it really allows you to customize your party as you want it. I do recommend it. It does have a little bit of problems with the camera a bit because it's 3D, of course, but I found it to be thoroughly enjoyable the entire way. And there is a demo, and if you play the demo, that save data transfers over. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely try that demo.
Nice. Greg, how about you? Number 3 for Switch AAA third party.
All right, so I did want to preface this saying I've only played a single AAA game, at least that I enjoyed anyways. So my number 3 is just one that I didn't play, but kind of seemed slightly interesting to me because I know my brother has played the version on Xbox, so that's actually Saints Row 3. So it just seemed kind of interesting, and I know you just kind of go around and it's kind of similar to like Grand Theft Auto, and you're kind of like taking cars and stuff and doing missions and everything. So it has kind of intrigued me to play it at some point. I just never bought the bullet, and just glad to see that it arrived on Switch, so then I would have a chance to play it as I don't have an Xbox.
Nice. I also haven't played it, but yeah, that was one of the ones that I think I was surprised to see it come over to Switch, for sure. For third place for me is a game that similar to you, Greg. I think on your indie games, you picked one that was a remake, and you're gonna see maybe a trend of something with my AAA games. That's all I'm gonna say. There is a trend for sure in all 3 of my picks. But my third place for indie, or sorry, not for indie, for AAA third party is a little game called The Wonderful 101 Remastered. So yeah, super excited that this game made its way back to Nintendo system. Now it's on other consoles out there as well. It's just an incredibly fun game, and I think I prefer it on Wii U and everything, but it's still cool to play. It takes a little bit to get the hang of making those gestures with the analog stick and everything, but it's just a fun game. It's exciting, and if you haven't played it yet, there's still a demo out there that you can play, and it's a fantastic demo. But yeah, it's just so fun and action packed, and yeah, so glad that it made a return on the Switch. So, Barry, on to you for number 2.
Well, since we're speaking of the remake style and all that, mine was also a remastered port kind of deal, and that was Rune Factory 4 Special. Rune Factory is a spin-off of the Harvest Moon, the proper Harvest Moon series, and it was originally released on the 3DS, and I did not get a chance to play it. And when they announced, hey, we're going to bring it to the Switch with new stuff, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to play this because I love Harvest Moon games, but I can't play them all just because I know they're so time consuming. And I always was intrigued by the Rune Factory series, and I love that it's coming back with Rune Factory 5 because it was pretty much dead. So I gave this a shot, like, totally open mind. Let's see what it's like. And it captivated me. Like, I played this for so many hours, I couldn't put it down. This is an action adventure 2D style game like Zelda or the Mana series, where you also have a farm and you help out this village, and the village has a ton of different people, and everyone has their own daily lives, and you get to interact with them and do quests. And what's cool is there's like a crafting system, so you go out there and kill monsters, bring back the stuff like the ingredients, and then you can make better swords and better pole arms and better armor, and you're just constantly upgrading yourself. And I will say the only thing holding this game back from possibly even making the top is that it uses a very weird RNG system to advance. So in order to advance to the next chapter, you have to go through several days of peace before the chapter starts. But for some people, that several days may be one day. For other people, it might be a whole month you have to go through. It is really random. And like, to marry people, you have to get a specific quest, and like you have to find like certain days are quest days, and then the specific quest you need has to spawn. And if it doesn't, you have to like reload your game, or sometimes go through an entire year before you even get the quest you need. And that was probably the biggest complaint I have about the game. Otherwise, it's phenomenal, and they do add a whole brand new section where you get to like live some days in the life with whomever you choose to marry, because you have a crap ton of people you could choose to marry, and it's just a lot of fun, and I do recommend this game.
Nice. Greg, how about you? Number 2.
So again, the number 2, I actually haven't played this or even any other series. It's another game that's coming over from other platforms. I believe it's on both Xbox and PlayStation. I didn't check that out. This is actually the Borderlands collection pack, so I think it has all 3 of them in it. Just pretty much based on what I was seeing on like the videos, it just kind of seems like it's a type of game that I would really enjoy. Again, it's a little bit more on like the using like guns and stuff, but it's not usually always a problem by me. So it basically just has looked really interesting, and just something I hope to try someday.
Nice. Guessing probably not something your young daughter is going to play with you, but you can have some games for yourself every once in a while.
Yeah, as you'll see with my number 1.
Yeah, there was also a trend I felt like on your picks too, Greg. So yeah, for number 2 for me, I'll tell you a little story. So back in the day, I used to be an only Nintendo system person, and one day I decided to finally get a PlayStation 3 because I needed a good Blu-ray player, and I thought, hey, might as well get one that also plays some good games, and I can try out some games that I've heard other people talk about, but haven't got to play myself. And the very first game that I picked up for that system is also a game that recently got remastered when it came out to the Nintendo Switch, and that is Burnout Paradise. And really enjoy the Burnout games. Honestly, it took a little bit for Burnout Paradise to grow on me, because it's a departure from the original kind of games where you just kind of go through each thing. But I love the open world aspect of it, and I can just get lost in that world for hours, honestly, and just ride around the city and do races, but also just explore. There's so much to do, and it looks fantastic on the Nintendo Switch. So that's Burnout Paradise Remastered as my number 2 pick. So all right, Barry, on to you for any honorable mentions and then your number 1 pick.
So honorable mentions, I'm going to give it to Darksiders Genesis, which is a Diablo-style game set in the Darksiders world. I did have a lot of fun with that. Another one I'm going to give it to is Mega Man Zero ZX Collection. Just great group of games. Love Mega Man. Happily played through all 6 of these on the Switch. Just ton of fun, and I do recommend those. But for me, there is not anything this year that truly can touch my top AAA game for the Switch, and that had to be The Legend of Heroes: Trails of Cold Steel 3. This is a series that I've heard about. I've heard nothing but good things, and earlier this year I decided to play the first 2 games, and I absolutely fell in love with them. I said, I need to continue. I need to go to the 3rd game. It's coming to the Switch. This is fantastic. This is just a phenomenal JRPG with a world that is a character in itself. It has just the characters, every character you feel for, every NPC you feel for. Just the story is it seems so simple, and then it just gets so much more complex, and even more so when you think about the fact that this is like the 7th game in the series, and it's all building like the MCU. And the nice thing is Cold Steel 3 is kind of like not a reboot, but it's an entry point. Like, you can jump in at that point with a brand new cast of characters. You get introduced to older characters. You get to experience this world with a fresh coat of eyes, and just like, all right, let me see what this is like. And it just will captivate you. There's just so much to this game, so much intrigue, so much storyline. It is so good, and I can't sing enough praise for this game. If you like JRPGs, even remotely, you need to do yourself a favor and give this series a try. It is just so awesome.
All right, cool. Yeah, I feel like if you were paying attention at all this year to what Barry has been playing, you probably did not see this as a surprise whatsoever, because he talked about this game all the time and loved playing it. So like, when I saw your list, I was like, well, of course that's your top pick. Why would it be anything else? Nice. Greg, how about your number 1?
Yep, so continuing on with the more adult-themed games, and I actually didn't have any honorable mentions, so I'm just jumping right to the number 1. It's actually, I think it was the one game of the year it came out on Xbox or PlayStation, whichever, probably both. It's a Catherine Full Body. So it's just like one of those RPGs, story games, where you get to kind of customize the story, and then you get to choose what kind of ending you want to go towards. There's like multiple different endings, and all of your choices kind of matter on which route you go through. The main part of the playable game is like you're just climbing a set of boxes, so it's almost giving like a push mode type feel, but definitely much more advanced. Nothing as simplistic as that. Pretty much you're just moving boxes in and out and to the sides just to try to be able to climb to the top to escape the nightmare. So it's very interesting so far, and I didn't list it off at the beginning of the podcast just because I wanted to keep some things a surprise for this. So that's my number 1 pick.
Nice. All right. So for me, even my honorable mention fits the theme that I went for AAA games. I thought it was really exciting to see a Need for Speed game come back to Switch, come back to Nintendo platform, and so honorable mention to Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered. Really big fan of the original Hot Pursuit and Hot Pursuit 2. So cool to see the remastered version come to Switch. Fun games. Like, we need better, more and better racing games on the Switch. But my top pick is a game for the first time that has already been mentioned. And that has been mentioned by Barry, because Trials of Mana is actually my number 1 pick for indie or for third-party AAA game, for all the reasons that Barry mentioned earlier. 2 things that I really want to point out. 3, I guess. It is a fantastic remake, like modern version of this game. Like, it pops. It looks fantastic. But I absolutely love that you can like play the game from different perspectives, and that like plays on my love for good storytelling. I love how you can Jake's surprised, I know, but I love how like even in movies, books, video games, all those different places where people can tell stories that's so interwoven from different perspectives, and then it all comes together somehow. It blows my mind, because there's no way that I could do something like that. So that's really cool, and to be able to play from different perspectives yourself, from the light and the dark, is just, it's so cool. I love when games give you more choice to approach the game how you want to approach it, and try it from different points of view as well. So I know, surprise, Jakester, I do play RPGs. I just don't play them very often because I don't have the time. It's not because I don't like them. It's just because I don't have the time to sink into a good RPG. But Trials of Mana is one of them. I have not played nearly as much, though. That's so cool to hear about the other stuff that you were talking about, Barry. So I'm excited to eventually get to that point with the game as well. So let's go to the chat. I know these guys have been talking a lot about their games, their picks for AAA third parties. What stood out to you guys as you looked through the chat and saw them talking about this as well? They're talking so much talk that I can't actually keep up with them tonight, so which is really cool. But I know there's been a lot of
love for the games. A lot of love for just the games we picked. People wanting Tomba 1 and 2 to come back. I agree with that. That'd be great. A lot of people then talking about Blasphemous from last year, a game I still need to play. A lot of people talking about Catherine, liking that. Cold Steel, liking that. Just great. Need for Speed Most Wanted was mentioned. Just some great games mentioned. Diddy Kong Racing. I want a sequel to that.
That'd be really cool if they eventually brought that back. Nice. All right, well, let's move to our next category, and that is all about the Nintendo games, the Nintendo published, the Nintendo developed games. These are the games that you've probably heard the most about naturally on a Nintendo system. These are the games that people often get a Nintendo system to play. Like, these are a lot of times the system sellers. So let's go through and talk about our top 3 Nintendo developed and published games for this year. And as we just continue on, Barry, how about you tell us your number 3?
The more I thought about it, I realized Nintendo did release quite a bit of games this year, even despite COVID and everything. And I was trying to figure out what order I wanted to really put them in, and I think number 3 was the hardest slot. Like 1 and 2 I felt were pretty confident in, but number 3 was really tough. There was a lot of good games this year, but when I thought back to everything, and I was just like, you know what, I really got to give the nod to this. And that game is a game brought over from the Wii U, and that is Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore. This game, I got it for the Wii U. I never played it. I really wanted to give it a try. Played the on the Switch, obviously, and I fell in love. The story was really cool. The battle, the combat is one of the best systems I've ever experienced in an RPG. It is just a ton of fun. Just to see this Atlas world mixed with Nintendo's Fire Emblem, this SMT cross Fire Emblem, epic. And it is really cool because of that, because you have these 2 types of playstyles mixed in, and just some of these familiar characters, all these different quests to go to, these dungeons to explore, and it is awesome. It is like Persona cross Fire Emblem, really, in a sense. And if you like JRPGs, if you like Atlas-style games, if you like battle systems where you can attack 15 times in a row with different characters and do combos, this is the game for you. There's just so much to it, and the music is great. My only negative, I would say, is that there's no actual English dub. Because it takes place in Japan, it's all Japanese voice with subtitles. But that's just the way we're gonna get it, and it's worth doing that. It's worth enduring that. And if you want to be more realistic, because it's set in Japan, they are speaking Japanese, but it is absolutely worth it.
Nice. All right, cool. Greg, number 3 for Nintendo games.
I do have to echo that this was probably the hardest list to actually come through and kind of sort through, even though there hasn't kind of normal, like easily definable blockbuster ones that have happened in other years, like Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, etc. So I still had extreme difficulty putting this list together. So number three, I was pretty much not expecting this game to actually be on my list, but was really surprised at how much I actually enjoyed it. And it probably made much more sense that I actually played it with my daughter Belle, and that is Paper Mario: The Origami King. Um, the last two Paper Mario games have definitely been very horrendous. Just a way of putting it nicely. But this one was a nice turnaround to kind of get a little bit closer to what it should be, but still not quite there. The ring puzzle thing gets kind of old, kind of fast, and the battles are still almost just about completely pointless. Like if they would have had it more like Super Paper Mario, where the battles are pretty much non-existent, then it'd probably been a lot better because the story is excellent and the world is fantastic looking and everything is so beautiful. The music is stellar as well. Even the bosses, like they still kept that awesome humor and challenge to it. So overall, very great game and very worthy of making a list.
Cool. A game that I still haven't played, but and probably won't. But I'm glad that you enjoyed it. um, so for me, my number three pick for Nintendo games is a game that I really anticipated originally coming out. Hint, it's another remake. But yeah, a game that I really enjoyed originally, and I'm so glad that Greg recently got excited about this game, and that's Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Pikmin is a fantastic game. I'm still disappointed in myself that I didn't get into the original Pikmin game. It took until Pikmin 2, I think or Pikmin 1 was remade onto the Wii before I finally got into that game and loved Pikmin 1, 2, and was so anticipating Pikmin 3. It's such a fantastic game. The challenge is there. The having to control the different the captains and everything it's just so much fun, and it looks fantastic. Again, you guys know me. If there's a great game that like really pops on the screen, that it does something to draw me in. But it's not just that. It's this challenge that's there. It's a fun story, but again, it doesn't take over. You're like, this is wacky. This is interesting, but it's wacky enough to be interesting. You're like, why am I intrigued by where these things come from? What was their story? How can I put their shit back together and all this stuff? So yeah, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, so great that it came to Switch so that more people can get to enjoy this fantastic game. So, Barry, back to you for number 2.
Number 2 was a game that when it was announced, I was super hyped. When I got it, I expected to just play it and complete it more out of obligation. And by the time I took the cartridge out of my Switch, I had completed it 100%, and I could not put it down, and that was Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, a game that I expect to be on this list multiple times. And it was just a truly amazing experience for me, being the huge Zelda fan that I am. I was not upset by the twist. I expect things like that. I did not expect them to end this game the way they, where it seemed like it would obviously end, and I'm okay with that. I like, that the first Hyrule Warriors was great, and there was a ton of content, but it was very difficult because you needed to unlock everything. You needed to use special items on the adventure maps to unlock a stage, and then beat that stage with a particular character, with a particular weapon, with a particular within a time limit. And if that character was under leveled, you then had to grind rupees to level them up. It was just tedious, and I loved that game. But this one, it's streamlined. This one, it was just so much smoother, and the battles just felt more fluid, and there was no time restrictions as long as you beat it within, if there was a time limit there, that was it. It wasn't like you have unlimited time here, but you have to beat it in 15 seconds as a hidden objective. Like, it was all spelled out for you. The crafting was fun. There was just a lot to do. The maps are huge. I will say one negative was honestly the Divine Beast levels. I was so looking forward to them, and I did find them the most boring out of all of it. But that's okay. The game still hooked me. Game I completed 100%, and I recommend everyone play this one. Again, another demo. Play the demo. Again, it carries over, and it is worth your time.
Cool. All right, Greg, on to you for number 2.
All right, so this one was another really difficult one to place in my list just due to the issues that I actually have with the game. This is my first time with the series, and that is Animal Crossing New Horizons. It's kept my interest all the way since March, and still trying to play just about most days that I can, or just about every day for the most part. I really got like my daughter and wife into it, and we share like an island. We have tons of fun just kind of messing around and also making it look pretty. But there's a number of like quality of life things that I think really need to address it to really make it the best game out there. Like I think the crafting thing definitely needs to be fixed. A lot of the random elements need to be addressed, like getting special recipes from balloons, and there should be like either other ways or some sort of like adjustment to like what they do in like the gacha games where they almost like kind of force you to get something after like, so many times of not getting something. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of these things should be made more enjoyable because, as Barry even put it nicely in a previous podcast, it's just like it's not nice to your time. It can be that way if you're just trying to collect certain things, and I can't put a game at number 1 if the game doesn't really fully respect my time that I'm trying to play it. That's my number 2 pick, Animal Crossing New Horizons.
All right. Well, Barry.
Yes.
I'd like to say that I completely agree with you on number 2. Yeah, I've also picked Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity for number 2. Yeah, for what you said. Like, I actually really enjoyed the original Hyrule Warriors a lot. I didn't find it like the things that a lot of people did say about it. I didn't find it as the grinding and things like that. I was just totally drawn in, and I found myself playing for hours and hours, enjoying it so much more than I ever thought I would. And so, when Age of Calamity was announced, I was like, what? Like, that's crazy. And I've enjoyed it so much. The only reason that I haven't played it nearly as much as I want to is because I've been playing a couple other games that I need to review. I've been playing more Immortals lately, but I really like as soon as I get enough of that done, so I can get a solid review, I'm going back to Hyrule Warriors because it's so much fun, and I also love how it's tied into the main storyline. I'm trying to still stay away from any spoilers or anything, so I don't quite know how it ends yet, but it's just so much fun, and I love, like, it's weird how much like I didn't think I was gonna like going through hordes and hordes of enemies, but it's so much fun just to kind of chain your attacks together, and I love that it is tied in this time because the other story was just like so out there and kind of, it was fun, but it wasn't tied in really like this one is. And so I'm interested to see where it goes for sure because the other one, like, I played for the fun factor. This one I'm playing for the fun factor and the storyline, which is really cool. So that's number 2. So back to you, Barry, for number 1 and any honorable mentions you got.
Yeah, I tried to avoid spoilers there just in case for people who haven't played it yet. So honorable mentions, this is a bigger category because there was just so much. Like I said, that number 3 spot was contested. Some of them have been mentioned. Paper Mario, Origami King has been mentioned. I think the battle system's what did it for me there. Like, I really enjoyed that game, and if the battle system was different, that might have beaten out Tokyo. But when I thought about the 2 battle systems, one being the most fun and one being one I didn't really enjoy, it was an easy lean towards Tokyo. Also, Mario 3 All-Stars, just going back through and playing the Mario games again. Tons of fun. Animal Crossing, again, another game I'm still playing. I was playing right before we recorded this. Kept me intrigued, at least in terms of daily stuff. But those little things, those things that just they tick away, and they knocked it going from number 1 slowly down to honorable mention. And the last one will be Clubhouse Games. Just a game that came out of nowhere. I had a lot of fun just playing and messing around with all those different types of games out there. and I enjoyed it on the DS and enjoyed it even more on the Switch. But number one should come as no surprise, none whatsoever, to anybody who's ever listened to this podcast. And if I didn't say it, it would not be represented, and that would be an injustice completely. My number one was Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition with Future Connected. What a game. What an absolute gem of a game. This was my game of the generation, last entire generation. And to replay it, because this wasn't one of those where I loved it so much and I'm just saying it again because of my love for the Wii one. No, I went back through. I'm like, it's been a decade. I want to play through again. And I was captivated again. And I played through and I forgot a lot of the little story nuances, and they pulled me in, and playing through Future Connected, brand new storyline was amazing. This is a game that everybody who is an RPG fan, everybody who's a story fan, everybody who's a Nintendo fan needs to play this series. Not an if, but this is, you need to play this. And if you don't like the combat, which some people don't, there is a casual mode. Play it on that. It's super easy. You don't have to worry about the combat as much, and you get to experience the story, because the story is top notch. This story is probably between Xenoblade 1 and 2, the best stories of any Nintendo game out there. And granted, Nintendo's not known for their strong suit and story, but still, this is something that you absolutely, hands down, have to experience. And it was an easy pick, just replaying this masterpiece. Like, I knew this is going to be my top Nintendo game. I just knew it.
Nice. It is interesting that the differentiator between your second and third was the combat system, and the thing that's kept both Greg and I away from Xenoblade is the combat system. But,
which is why I mentioned the casual mode. That
right,
was for
right.
you guys.
Totally. Nice. All right, Greg, time to go for you for your number one.
Yeah, for honorable mentions, I definitely have to put out there for Super Mario 3D All-Stars. That was great to be able to replay those games in 2020. Still kind of working through Sunshine slowly, and did beat Mario 64 for like the 8th time. I think that was just about it. Actually, Age of Calamity was another honorable mention, and that was more because I haven't had a significant amount of time with it. You'll know I'll be contradicting myself when I do reveal my number one pick. Actually, I didn't have a lot of time with, but it was another series entry first for me, and that is actually Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I was very captivated and not expecting to enjoy this as much as I did. I had never played Pikmin 1 or 2 or even 3 on Wii U. It never looked like something I would really enjoy, but then, wouldn't you know, as soon as you actually play the demo, like, it really fully captivated me, and I got fully enthralled into the story, and I'm definitely looking to purchase this at my earliest opportunity to play the rest of it through. So that's my number one pick, Pikmin 3 Deluxe.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I said this earlier, but I'm so glad that you did finally get into the Pikmin series, because it's so much fun, and I can't wait until Pikmin 4 as well. That eventually, it may eventually come out somewhere down the line. So in terms of honorable mentions for me, it's funny that you guys mentioned game like Super Mario 3D All-Stars, because I did not put it on my list at all. I was not a huge fan of that game. Like, it's all right. It's a nostalgia thing, and and Sunshine is but anyway, honorable mention for me is Clubhouse Games. I loved that game back on, was it DS, not 3DS, right?
Yes.
And just played a lot of it, and it again, it came at the right time. I think during quarantine and all that stuff, it was a game that I really enjoy playing. My wife and I got to play a lot together, and just so much fun. And kind of reminisced a little bit about back when we used to play the original one together on DS and everything too. So that was a cool honorable mention, and just my only honorable mention. But my number one game of the year really came down to the game the new game that I spent the most time with. And so Rocket League does not count. But the new game that I spent the most time with was definitely Animal Crossing: New Horizons. It sucked me in, and I'm pretty sure that I've given this. I played a lot of the original handheld games, but I need to compare hours or whatever, but I'm pretty sure that this one I've put in like maybe double the amount of hours that I spent in that game. And the only reason that I've not been playing it as much lately is because I've been trying to distance myself from it on purpose to play other games, to try to continue advancing in Rocket League, but also to get some time with Hyrule Warriors and to get some time with Immortals and Trials of Mana and stuff like that require a little more time. But it's a game that hit just perfectly. It's what we needed during quarantine time, just to be able to sucked into this other world, and I love playing it on the big screen, because up to this point I've only played it in handheld versions like the original ones. But it's just so kick back and just relax. But also like it really helped that it came out in 2020 when we needed a place to just kind of escape. And Animal Crossing provided that escape. So yeah, that was my number one Nintendo pick. So what'd you guys see in the chat as they were talking about their Nintendo picks?
A lot of people saying you need to play Xenoblade. Definitely Clubhouse, talking about Clubhouse games. Dave said, let's not forget about Clubhouse games. Roberto said, I just got Pikmin. It's surely going to be my game of the year. Origami King is definitely on his list as well. And it looks like King Koopa misses Bennigan's restaurant.
Oh, all right. Wait, is it gone?
The local one here is gone.
Been,
I think they're back.
Yeah, it's been gone for a number of years. They had kept one location, and it's actually in downtown Chicago. So another reason to live here in Illinois if you really miss Bennigan's. The last remaining one standing is in Chicago.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah, I've not lived around one for a long time. But they're what's it called? It's like the fried sandwich Monte Cristo there is so good.
Yeah.
Just it's like needs to come with an angioplasty, but it tastes so good. All right. Well, let's move on because we've got still 3 more categories to go tonight. Let's talk about other games, other systems. Yes, I know. Wait, what? There's other systems other than Nintendo systems? There are, and there are some really good games that came out for those other systems this year, and some of us got to play them. Some of us just got to sit back in awe and want those games to come to Switch at some point. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit of hodgepodge, a mix of different kind of discussion around these non-Nintendo games this year. But let's start off again, of course, with Barry. And what's your third place pick for non-Nintendo system game?
Yeah, it's interesting. This the first time we're doing this, and this category evolved from 3DS to 3DS Mobile to now just any other system because the 3DS is dead and Nintendo hasn't put out anything on mobile. So it's nice to give some mentions to some of these great games, and hopefully some of these, if not all of them, do find their way to Switch. My number 3, I feel has a good chance to eventually come to the Switch, and I really hope it does, especially because it was originally designed for the Vita. But that is 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim for the PlayStation 4. This is a game by Vanillaware. Vanillaware is known for their beautiful 2D art. They did Odin Sphere, they did Muramasa, which was a Wii title, they did Dragon's Crown, and this was a huge epic for them. This is a sci-fi story involving time travel where 13 different people have to figure out a way to save the world from a kaiju attack that is going to destroy it, and they have to solve the mystery, and all these 13 characters will intertwine with one another. There's tons of mystery and intrigue in what's going on. The story moments are absolutely the best part. There is combat, and the combat is like a real-time strategy combat where clearly the graphics are downplayed there because it was made for the Vita, and you have hundreds and thousands of troops that look like little dots, and you just send out missiles and blow them all up. While that's the weakest part of the game and probably the part that held it back for me the most, I still found them enjoyable by the end, especially as you powered up your characters. But the story, the character dialogue, the getting to know people, like it's all there, and the mystery pays off, and it has one of the best endings of a game this year. Like, it is just a truly beautiful game, and hopefully it comes to the Switch, but if not, it should be experienced.
Cool. All right, Greg, how about you?
I want to also preface I haven't played any of these 3 games, and it's just based on interest in their ability to try to sell me on these other consoles that they haven't been successful yet at this time anyways. So number 3, I picked the newest entry in the series that's almost got me to get an Xbox One, Xbox 360, and that is Halo Infinite. So I've usually been kind of interested in Halo a little bit because it's like the 5 shooter kind of like almost exceeded GoldenEye 64 back in the day. So I probably, if I did get an Xbox, this was probably the game I would definitely be picking up.
Cool. Great to hear. Yeah, Halo is so much fun, and it was actually, I think the collection, Master Chief Collection, was the first game I picked up for my Xbox One S. Actually, it came with it, so I guess I didn't really pick it up. But, you know.
That's cheating.
So for me, yeah, similar to Greg, I actually, we were talking about this offline, that I didn't play too many new other system games. Like you guys, like it was hard to think of AAA games, like third-party games that were brand new this year. I really didn't play too many games that were brand new on other systems this year. But so 2 of my picks, my second and third, actually do fall into the category of games that I really want to play and maybe will eventually play. They really are intriguing, but I haven't made it happen yet. Games that I definitely want to see on a Nintendo system for sure. Probably will not happen, but I would love to see both of these games come over. The first one for my third place is Star Wars Squadrons. I am a huge Star Wars fan. Did play Fallen Order is a great game. I need to get back and finish that game. But yeah, Squadrons just looks so good. And I love like the ones where you're flying. I mean, just takes me back to some of the older Star Wars games. It just like we're just so cool. But now like with the modern updated graphics, I mean, it just feels like you're in the movies. And yeah, it's so cool. So I'm almost always gonna get intrigued by a Star Wars game. And this is one of them that looks really, really exciting. So, all right, Barry, on to number 2.
Number 2 for me was one that I've heard so many good things about, just constantly, so many good things. And I really expected it to come to the Switch. I still expect it to come to the Switch, and I hope it does, but it hasn't. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to see what all the hubbub's about. I'm going to try it. And that was Persona 5 Royal. And oh my God, is that game a beast and amazing, and just one of those things that again, I wasn't expecting to get swept up in this world as quickly as I was. I was like, oh, this is going to be, I'm going to play it, just see what it's like, especially after Joker got into Smash. And no, I couldn't put it down. Like, and I never played the original Persona 5, so I went right in with Persona 5 Royal, and I was like, all right, let's see what it's like. And all the quality of life changes that I read up about afterwards really made the game awesome. The social aspect was a lot of fun, getting to know the characters, really getting to know the characters. Everyone has such a cool story. The combat is awesome. Again, another great RPG with great combat. I like the persona system. I like being able to swap out characters. I like going into mementos, which is like an open dungeon. I like the idea of finding somebody corrupt and going into their palace and finding out all their sins and really making them have a change of heart and how it affects the story. And then of course there's the third chapter, the third semester at the end, which is a brand new thing for Royal, and that really, without spoiling it, just kind of paints the villain in a very gray area where you have to really question, is the villain really a villain? And you actually have the option to choose their side, which is cool. It's not like I'm evil, ha ha ha. It's, hey, I'm trying to honestly do good, and you're viewing my action of doing good as evil. And is it really evil? You know, it's one of those moral, ethical questions you would see in like a philosophy class, and I love it. I love that they did that. Just the music is phenomenal. I've like listened to the soundtrack almost on a daily basis at this point. If you like jazz, cool, like Chicago style jazz style rock music, it's great. It's just something that needs to be experienced. I really expected it to be on the Switch. The follow-up is coming to the Switch, which is really weird. So hopefully with Joker and with the Strikers coming out, we do get Persona 5 Royal on the Switch. And if it does, you guys need to play it. And if you don't and you have another system, PS4 or PS5, I do recommend you play it as well.
Nice. Because I don't know enough about that whole like series and everything. Will Strikers will it continue in the same kind of thing, or is it a departure? Is it different?
No, Strikers is done. It's like Hyrule Warriors. It's another Musou game, and it's a sequel, but it's again done with the Omega Force worked with the Persona team. Much like they worked with Nintendo for Age of Calamity. So it is that type of spin-off, but it's also a sequel. All the voice actors come back. And it looks really great, and I can't wait to play it. And I wouldn't be as excited about it had I not played Persona 5 Royal. And it's a long game, but I will definitely say it is worth that adventure.
Cool. All right, Greg, on to number 2.
Well, since I've already did my best of Xbox, now it's time to jump to best of PlayStation. So this was the one game, or at least not really just a single game, but pretty much the whole series had moved to the PlayStation 1 onward and really never really graced the Nintendo system pretty much ever again, except for some spin-offs, and that's Final Fantasy VII Remake. So this was the first Final Fantasy game that went to PlayStation after I really greatly enjoyed 4 and 6 on the Super Nintendo. So this is a series that I would definitely love to get into on PlayStation, and most likely I would pick up if day comes when I do buy my next PlayStation console.
Nice. Yeah, and then you can know about the new Smash characters as well and play them. So. Yeah. Cool. For yeah, there you go. You get your other pick in there. For me, number 2 is again, like I said, like number 2 and 3 are games that I've not played, but oh my goodness, I am this close to getting this game. The problem is though, I really want to get it on the PS5, and I don't have a PS5. So I really want to make sure that it's actually still a good experience in the PS4. There's some other games out there, Cyberpunk, that are not so good on the last gen system. So I'm hoping this, if I find out for sure that this game actually performs well, I'm going to be looking into it and its predecessor, and of course that is Spider-Man Miles Morales. It looks so good. Loved every little bit of gameplay that I've seen, and just I love what they're doing with this like Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales. Like it's just so good, and it's like this perfect blend, at least like what it seems like. I haven't played it, but from what I've seen, it's perfect blend of cinematic, but also really action-packed, really quality gameplay, and that's hard to pull off, especially in nowadays, because I think games go one way or the other. Sometimes they don't do either very good, but I feel like they've done a really good job with both of these games, with being able to give us some really cinematic stuff that almost seems like it belongs in the MCU, but then you actually get to play it and experience it. So yeah, Spider-Man Miles Morales, never going to come to Switch, but it'd be cool if it did. Never going to happen. All right, Barry, on to your number one, and any honorable mentions you got?
Yeah, for me, Spider-Man Remastered on PS5 was fantastic. I never got to play the original, and Miles Morales as well. I played them back to back, and I will tell you, it very much feels like MCU style, like it's its own little cinematic universe in itself, but it has that same flavor, and I love the MCU. And you're right, it's like watching a movie, but you get to play it, and it is a ton of fun and absolutely worth it. And if you haven't played the original, you definitely get like the ultimate launch edition for Miles Morales on PS5 and get the remastered version of Spider-Man. Also want to throw out just a quick little thing for Astro's Playroom, which was a packing game. Just because as a tech demo, it's a fun little game, but as a tech demo, it's really good, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I wanted to put Star Wars Squadrons on there, and I think if you don't get motion sick and you like that first-person cockpit view, especially if you could do VR, Squadrons is a phenomenal game. I wish it had that third person, be able to pull back like Rogue Squadron, and then I probably would be able to play it a little more. But it is awesome, and I do recommend that. But for my number one, I can honestly say this. Unlike my first two picks, which might or might not go to the Switch, I can honestly tell you my number one game is going to the Switch. It's confirmed for 2021. It is going to the Switch, and that is The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 4. After playing the first three this year, I could not wait for the Switch version of 4. I had to play it right away. Talking about the MCU, this is the Avengers Infinity War / Endgame put together. This is the culmination of all these games just brought in to this unbelievably epic finale. This is something that if you play all the games, you will get more out of it. I have not played all the games, and I still got a ton out of it. I was crying, I was laughing, I was smiling, I was just enjoy. And I expected this game to be like this 60-hour epic game, and I wound up clocking in like 110 hours. I did everything. I wanted to do all the side quests. I wanted to see all the different people. I wanted to see, how this world, survives, and if they survive, and what does and doesn't survive. And it is just a culmination of this fun. I don't know. It's just like it is out of nowhere. If you asked me in 2019, it would be like, what are your favorite JRPG series? Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Grandia, Tales of, all up there. And now the Trails of series is up there. Like out of nowhere, this series is a must play for JRPG fans. This is such a good game, and I'm so excited that it is coming to the Switch next year. So if you don't have another system, you don't have a PS4 to play it on or a PS5 to play it on, and you only have a Switch, you can play it. You can play 3 now, you can play 4 next year. Hopefully the others do come over. They are coming in other regions, but hopefully America gets them as well. Just took it away. This is a series that, and you know how much I love Xenoblade. This series rivals, in the Xenoblade category, like top tier. Just nothing else on any other system come close to this game. This is just that good.
Nice. Maybe a sneak peek to your game of the year for 2021.
It very well could show back up there because it is that good of a game.
Nice. All right, Greg, how about you for number one?
I did have the honorable mention of Persona. That's another series that's kind of interested me for quite a while, but I didn't really do my due diligence homework on that series to see if it actually would have made the list instead of Final Fantasy or Halo. But so just did want to point that out really quick. And then on to my number one. Pretty much the Game Awards did it best, when they were announcing it, and that was The Last of Us Part 2. No, it's actually Ghost of Hiroshima, Ghost of Tsushima, or whatever that one was. That probably should have got Tsushima. Should have got the Game of the Year actual nomination. I've kind of really enjoyed these open world games with Skyrim and Breath of the Wild, and I think I would have quite a lot of fun playing this game as well. So that would be my number one pick.
Nice. Cool. I'm just noticing that the portion of the game trailer that we are playing on the screen right now just had the guy walk out with his horse, and then we're moving on. So I'm just gonna just ramble just a second, so you guys can see just a little bit more of the gameplay. No, it's okay. I forgot how long that scene was when I hit play. But yeah, you guys can see just a little bit more of it. Yeah, won a lot of awards. Definitely. I think of all the games that did win a lot of awards and had a lot of nominations at the Game Awards, this is one that really I feel like I haven't played it, but it definitely seems like it was deserving of a lot of what it got.
Based on the trailers I've seen for this game, though, when I was picking it out, I definitely feel like it should have definitely beat Last of Us when I was going through. So that really helped my nominations list to see what other people why this game was considered, and I definitely do think it was snubbed.
Yeah. So for me, I'll say honorable mention first was sorry, I looked at something else and I was like, that's not accurate. I looked at the wrong list. I glanced at my worst games of the year. But yeah, not quite yet. The other one that I would love to play, and I really want to play this actually on a high quality PC rig, would be Microsoft Flight Simulator. As an honorable mention, man, that game looks so good. But there's no way that
Series X.
It is. I don't have one of those yet, but but it would be a good experience. But all of me wants to I need to find someone that lives nearby that is okay with me dropping by, that has an amazing PC gaming rig that will allow me to play that on their wraparound screens and all that stuff, so I can just be fully immersed as a pilot. That would be fantastic. But for me, the number one is actually the only new game that I played on other systems. There's other honorable mentions too. I forgot to mention this. I actually have the new Oculus 2. Quest 2, yeah. So I played around with a little bit of those games and stuff too. So I guess there are some new games, like the Star Wars game on that, and it's pretty cool and everything too. But I really didn't get enough experience, and I still have to watch how much I play so I don't get sick. But yeah, the only new game that I played this year, which was a lot of fun. It's definitely the reason it got number one is because it's the only new game that I played, but it's not necessarily game of the year quality, but it's a fantastic and fun game, and that's Fall Guys. So yeah, I played a lot of Fall Guys. I was really excited when I got it for free on PS4, because when they gave it to us for PS Plus. So it's fun. It's sometimes you don't find nearly as many people playing as you used to. They're trying to make it new and interesting with the new seasons and stuff like that, and it's just fun. I've talked about how much I enjoy platforming, and then you get platforming with all these different people and bumping into each other, and it's a game that I have been incredibly frustrated by, not necessarily because of the game itself, but because I just want to just smack the people on the other side of the internet because they keep getting in my way. And I'm like, if you weren't there, if you knew how an actual seesaw worked, then you'd just be able to just move on the other side, and we can move through this. It's gonna be okay. But just keep getting in my way. But it's fun. It's it's that frustrating and fun together, and I just have to watch it because I can't play too much, or the controller will go through the TV. But it is a fun experience for sure. All right, what's the chat talking about? They're having a blast talking about non-Nintendo system games, because we haven't really done that a whole lot on this podcast. As you're looking through, guys, I do want to call out Hassan's in the chat, and yeah, Hassan, it's weird without you being here, man. But we understand. Congratulations again on your baby, and we know that the little one's kind of keeping you busy and everything. So maybe we can have you join us for the 2021 Game of the Year awards.
2021, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the chat saying about their favorite non-Nintendo games?
Let's see. Dave said non-Nintendo was basically his 2020. Jakester said his was definitely Genshin Impact on PC. Roberto said 13 Sentinels might be Vanilleware's masterpiece, which I agree, and got snubbed for best visual. Jakester said he's thinking of getting MMC on Steam sometime. Let's see what else. A lot of talk about Persona 5 Royal. Roberto says he needs to play it. It looks so goddamn cool. Dave said he loved it and beat it. Talking about the music Beneath the Mask. Great track. Let's see. Roberto says Final Fantasy VII Remake is another one he's dying to get into, and the score must be beautiful for it. Dave says Yakuza 7 was his runner-up. 0 is still better, but Yakuza 0 should come to Switch. I agree. And then Jakester says that he agrees with you, Greg, that Ghosts is better than Last of Us. Roberto says Tsushima must be the most beautiful game this year. Everything I saw from people on Twitter was just jaw-dropping. And it's again, Hassan popped in, which is great. Said, honestly, Fortnite was by far the game he played the most this year. Spent so much time with it on so many different platforms lately, mostly playing on the PS5.
Cool. Now we get to move into honestly what has become my favorite category. I enjoy talking about the games we like, but I also enjoy having some fun with these games that just frustrated us or just made us want to throw something or shut it off, or maybe a game that we only played 5 minutes and then we never touched again because it was just that bad. But we're going to talk about our worst games of the year. Barry, how about you start us off with your number 3? And
my number 3 is actually
again. Sorry, just to clarify that we're back to Nintendo Switch again.
Switch.
So yeah.
Yes. My number 3 was actually mentioned in the chat at the beginning of this, expecting as a joke, expecting me to say this, nominating it for the main awards. But the joke's on you. The game is actually going to be talked about right here on the worst. It's my number 3 worst game for this year that I was unfortunately forced to play, and that was Cobra Kai: The Karate Kid Saga Continues. This is a really subpar 2D beat 'em up based on the Cobra Kai series, which is a sequel to the Karate Kid movies. It features some of the voice acting of the real cast, some of them not. It apparently has a very deep system. I just never got that far because it was boring. The levels are extremely long with extremely generic enemies. The hit detection is garbage. The graphics are decent at that. The special moves are meh. It's just one of those things that, if you're a super fan of this and you love Cobra Kai and you absolutely want to have everything Cobra Kai or Karate Kid, be my guest, play it. But if you really want to see this original story, my advice is just to YouTube the cutscenes. It's just not worth playing. I regret my time playing this. And I had to buy it physically too for my collection, and I opened it up to pop that cartridge in, and I think my Switch threw up a little bit as I put that card in there.
Nice. That's so great. And it looks like I froze. Let's see, am I back yet? Nope, that's really interesting. Hold on a second.
I see it frozen. Steve,
I'm frozen up. Oh, no.
Cobra Kai is so bad. You see this? It actually killed Steve right there. That is how bad this is.
That's just how bad it is. How bad is it? I'm struggling to find which USB it is. All right, there it is. Sweet. I think I'm back. All right, cool. Whoa. Hey, my light is really bright as well. Okay.
Yeah, you're back.
I'm back.
Yay.
I'm back. Okay, cool. So, Greg, let's move on to you. Before I move on, though, highly recommend watching Cobra Kai. Just don't play it. Greg, move on to you.
All right, so this was probably will be an upcoming game chat at some point because I did download this code and try to squeeze in some playtime, but I definitely did not enjoy it in the slightest. And that was Family Feud. I really love the game show, and I'm really on board with like how it works and everything. But this Switch version definitely does not do me in. Like the characters look like they're from like the Nintendo 64 era. I mean, um, the questions are kind of like out there and stuff, and like the way you like, actually enter in the answers is like you start typing in a text box and get 30 seconds to actually put something in there. And then I found like a pretty big issue on at least on my side is like I had to pause the game to like take my puppy out, and then when I resumed, like it actually like when I was in sleep mode, the game was still playing on without me. So I was like oh, the other family gets a chance to steal, and I'm like, wait, what? I thought I was in the middle of like trying to submit answers. Like I can't put them in sleep mode when I'm in the middle of playing. Like how is this even good? So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, probably more to come when we do the game check, but those were definitely my initial first impressions, and definitely not a game that I would recommend that people would play.
Nice. That's hilarious. Yeah, I'm hoping to eventually get some time with it. That really saddens me though, or some more time with it. Yeah, because I was really hoping that would be better than the other game show games that have come out.
I will say this though, the family you said looks like they're from the N64. You must have a very different remembrance of the N64 because that looked a lot better than what the N64 could do. Maybe at least PS2 era, GameCube, but not N64.
Yeah, well, bad GameCube.
Kind of polygonal shape, but yeah, I guess GameCube is more accurate, but it just really reminded me of like a polygon kind of shaped figures, like characters.
Yeah, for sure. For me, number 3, I think I've done this before. And let me just take this opportunity as my number 3 worst game of the year to just, EA, you done some good stuff. You brought back Need for Speed on Nintendo Switch. That's a really good move. But the fact that you keep giving us crap for FIFA irritates me so much. Come on, legacy system, like legacy game. That's ridiculous. Give us a real FIFA game. Stop just giving us this crap. So, yes, number 3, FIFA 21 Legacy Edition for Nintendo Switch. That's all I'm gonna say because I'm done. I don't want to I'm gonna get off my whatever and I'm gonna just move on to Barry because it just bothers me so much that they don't put an actual FIFA game on there. I want to play a good soccer game. Come on.
Well, it's good. It's just not as good as it could be, right?
No, it's actually not good. The 21 was 21's actually probably the worst of the legacy ones that they've released. It's not good. Not even good for a legacy one. Yeah.
That stings.
Jakester says that's why I play Rocket League. Exactly, because I don't have an actual soccer game. We're gonna play car soccer instead.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, my number 2 is I played multiple time management games this year, and one of them was a lot of fun, and it really should have been an honorable mention for my indie, which was Damage in Transit.
The fact that you've played multiple time management games is just an interesting phrase. Sorry.
It is, right? So one really should have been an honorable mention. Damage in Transit on the indie side. The other one is so bad. I think I played 10 minutes of it, and I just verbally said this is garbage and turned off my Switch. And that game was Urban Flow. Urban Flow is a game where you control traffic lights. That's what you do. And at first it's like, oh, this isn't so bad. I make one side go, then I stop, then I let the other side go. And then they start complicating it. They start adding in trains, and they start adding in specialty vehicles that need priority. And it just gets, it starts with like two sets of lights to like 7 sets of lights, and you got to remember, oh, this one's R and this one's L and this one's X and this one's Y, and it just gets so complicated that and you only get like 3 crashes and you fail. So if you get 3 crashes, it's over, and it's just like Like, you would think, like, Burnout Crash, oh, this would be a ton of fun. Like, let's see this biggest crashes. No, you can't do that. You're penalized. And it's just so boring and frustrating, and you're just watching these crashes happen, and someone comes from the one side and you just weren't paying attention, and I was like, this game is just not worth your time. It is terrible. And I hope this is one of those few games I honestly hope doesn't get a physical, because I don't want to have to buy it again.
Nice. Greg, what's your number 2 worst game of the year?
So I do have to preface at least this one because I was very excited upon its announcement. And you can go back to like the indie world that it was announced in, and it came out to be a huge turd, and that is Super Mash. It's the game where you can mix genres of games together, and then all of a sudden you get like a different game to play. I mean, I tried to play through at least enough of it, but then a few of them just became like super like either like very unrealistically difficult, and I don't know. I just didn't really have a lot of fun just continuously switching out the different types of games, and got very sick of it pretty quickly. So that was a very big disappointment, and my number 2 pick, Super Mash.
Yeah. I remember that conversation and us going, that looks really cool, and then not so much. That off went really well because it's an interesting concept for sure. All right, so number 2 for me was a game that I think I got free through something Cubic Games was giving away at one point. I don't really know. Either they sent me a copy or they gave it to me because they're constantly giving their games away for some reason. I guess they don't like money. But it's a game that I thought I would enjoy because the concept seems so great. But it was just confusing from the very beginning, and that's it's called Pocket Mini Golf, and you just start in the game, and they don't give you any instructions. They don't let you know how it works, and it's not like real mini golf where you get so many. You have to get the ball in the hole and the least amount of hits and everything. No, you only get so many lives, and you're done. And you get some extra lives as well, but the game it doesn't really do a great job at all of explaining it, and you can't really fully like control the angle of the camera like you want to, and for the most part you just find yourself getting frustrated more than anything else. Like there's a little bit of challenge in there, and it's not the worst game of the year. It is number 2. There's like a teeny bit of fun in there, but that fun's going to be over in about 30 to 45 seconds. But I found myself more frustrated about it. I played it a little bit more just to like say that I played it more. But then I quickly turned it off and never to be seen again. So yeah, Pocket Mini Golf, not so much fun. All right, moving on. Barry, number 1.
All right. So first, my one dishonorable mention goes to Holy Potatoes. What the hell? What the hell did I honestly play? This is terrible. This is just a terrible cooking game with some really funny puns that you have no time to read because you're on the clock. It is just the whole Holy Potatoes. I don't understand. I think it's garbage. Stay away from it. But that's not my number 1. And you're probably saying, what could beat Urban Flow? That sounds like garbage, which it is. What could beat it? Well, let's take a game that has probably the worst premise in the history of video games, that while hilarious is awful, just god awful. Combine it with terrible controls, terrible aiming, and absolutely garbage everything else, and you get Ski Sniper. Yes, that's what it is. And you would think the title Ski Sniper might be, I'm going to be like the Olympic sport where you're skiing and then you have to stop and you have to shoot. No, you shoot snipers and you blow them up and you watch their bodies go explosives, like just implode. That is if you can hit them. And the trailer makes it look so easy, and it's not. It is not. You will miss and you will miss and you will miss, and you were supposed to hit and you will miss, and it is garbage. It is absolutely garbage. It is not worth the time or the money to play this game. It is just a terrible, terrible premise on a terrible, terrible game. It is hilarious to look at videos and to watch and go, oh my god, I can't believe they made this into a real game. I can't believe Nintendo approved this on the Switch. And the answer is yes, they made it into a game. If you want to call it that, yes, Nintendo approved it. It is available on the Switch, and it is not worth the 10 cents or 15 cents or whatever I wound up paying for it, because it is absolutely garbage. It is just a terrible, terrible game. I do not recommend. And I'm sure people are going to be like, that's insane. That sounds like a great concept. I have to try this now. And you know what? Do it at your own risk. It is a garbage, garbage game. And after you miss, or maybe you'll hit, maybe you'll get lucky. It is just, you pick your different vantage points on the slope, and you know, take your shots where you want to kill them. And the way I was playing it, I was just like picturing the story of the skier. Like, oh, it's just a Sunday morning. I'm going to go skiing. I'm going to go see my family later. You know, like making up their lives before they get destroyed. You know, that was the only way I could find any type of humor and enjoyment into this game. And then I would miss, and I would be like, well, I guess you're going home to your wife tonight. You know, it is just a terrible game. I do not recommend. It is my worst game of the year.
Nice. I remember seeing that, and I remember like thinking, wow, that's quite the concept. And then I love the fact that it was like 2 weeks later, you're like, yeah, I'm playing that game now. I'm like, oh boy. Nice.
I did that for an $100 challenge, and I want my money back, damn it.
Yeah, that concept is just all right. Greg, for your worst game of the year.
Yeah, this was probably one that also deserved a game chat at some point that I had the unfortunate time to play. It's pretty easy to come up with like a title, or at least pretty easy to imagine after you like hear like these awesome buzzwords just like going together, and that's when you hear the words fly, punch, boom. This was a very random game that we got a few extra codes, and I just couldn't really get into it. I tried it on normal initially, and then I was getting creamed, and then like, all right, I guess I gotta play it on easy, and then I was still getting creamed. Like, I do not understand anything. Like, they do not explain anything how to even play and go through the combos that you're supposed to be able to do and fight the computer. But I just couldn't figure it out, and I felt it was a complete waste of my time, and I still don't know how to play just like watching the video of it. It was so confusing, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, I can tell. Just watching the trailer, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. Like, what is this game? Oh boy. So moving on, worst game of the year for me. Quick shout out, I didn't play it. Very few people did, but that's Cooking Mama Cookstar. That's so bad. Go back a few episodes. We talked about that game. Number one for me is a game that I've talked about on the podcast before. I talked about and how we all need to play it sometime, and just check it out because it's free. Yeah. It's a game that I don't recommend, even if it's free. It's not worth it, and that's Circle of Sumo. Yeah, it's kind of awful. It is free, so at least I didn't waste any of my money, just my time. It's fairly easy, but it's just not good. It's not fun. It looks like it belonged on like 2 generations ago, sort of thing. Like, again, there's so little to complain about, like, legitimately, because it's a free game. So I'm like, okay, Steve, like, really, it's gonna be your number one because like it's free. Yeah, it's just like I don't want to go back to it. Like, I kind of want to try it, like, multiplayer with you guys at some point, but it's going to be one of those that we try for like maybe 2 minutes, and then we say we did it and we're going to move away. So unlike Ski Sniper, wasting 15 cents or whatever, you're not going to waste any money this one. But I still don't recommend it, even though it's free. So Oh boy. All right. I know people are heading out. I know this is a longer episode. Sorry about that, guys. We have so much to talk about with our Game of the Year awards. It usually is a longer episode. So I know some people are heading out. Thank you guys so much for joining in while you could. Be sure to listen to the rest of it later. But what are they saying? What are some of their worst games, or are they just enjoying our rants? Like,
Well, they're definitely enjoying the rants. There was a lot of conversation. Roberto didn't realize Cobra Kai had a game, and he failed 30 years ago. It would have been an LJN release. I completely agree. It would have been. Dave, who just left, said SpongeBob Rehydrated was very unpolished, and the Switch version was the worst. Mario Sunshine is still the worst as well, even though he's beat it like 150 times or whatever. Jakester said he doesn't have a worst game on Switch that released this year, but he still thinks the worst game he played this year was definitely Pokemon Shield. Jesse thinking Cobra Kai will never die. Yeah, that's Cobra Kai definitely died. Jakester said the worst game that released this year on PC was Fast and Furious Crossroads. I heard some terrible things about that. Jesse said FIFA 21 as a legacy is disappointing. And Roberto says just a dumpster fire every year for FIFA. Roberto was hoping that Urban Flow might be good, but it's not. I'm telling you, it is not. Do not buy that. He almost bought Super Smash, but something told him not to, and he's glad he did now. Let's see. Dave said, "LOL, Ski Sniper. I've heard of this." Roberto said, "That's insane." And picturing the stories of the skiers, he likes that. That's the only way I found any type of enjoyment. Talked a little bit of Holy Potatoes. That sadly got a physical, but yeah, you had to buy that. Roberto said, "Holy crap, I forgot about Cooking Mama." I think many of us did. It was just so much of this year that a lot of people forgot about Cooking Mama. The controversy was a big deal. We made several episodes about it, and now it's passe. And Jakester says, I do have an honorable mention for a third-party game. I don't have it, but Kamen Rider Memory of Heroes is an amazing game. That did get a physical in the Asian and Japanese region and is in English. Oh, and Jesse said he would pick that daddy dating game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Before we go into the Game of the Year... before we do Game of the Year, should we read our choices from Discord? We had several.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's head over to Discord.
You want me to read them, or you want to read them, or?
Yeah, if you got it pulled up, go for it.
Yeah.
I've got so many screens in front of me right now.
Dave said his best indie Switch game was Hypno Space Outlaw. His best third-party game was non-applicable. He just didn't have a AAA Switch game. Best Nintendo game was Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. His best game in a non-Nintendo system was Persona 5 Royal. His worst game is SpongeBob SquarePants Rehydrated. And his overall game of the year was actually Persona 5 Royal. Landwin 27 said his best indie Switch game was Murder by Numbers. His best third-party AAA Switch game was Doom Eternal. His best Nintendo game was Animal Crossing New Horizons. Best game in a non-Nintendo system was Spider-Man Miles Morales. His worst game of the year was actually Cooking Mama Cookstar. And his overall game of the year was Animal Crossing New Horizons. And then Billy said, I just want to say Hades on Switch is his game of the year for everything. I can't stop playing it. So there we go. We got some more answers there.
Nice. I want to play Hades, but I've realized that I'm not a big roguelite fan. Like the ones that I play, and maybe I just haven't played a good one yet. But and maybe Hades is it. But yeah, I haven't pushed myself to actually play it yet because I'm not too fond of that genre so far. But of course, it got a lot of nods at the and awards at the Game Awards, so clearly it's a good game for sure. All right, time to move into our overall picks of this year. And we forgot to mention this at the beginning. We mentioned in our last podcast that these picks this year are from January to November. So some of you may be wondering, why haven't they mentioned Immortals Phoenix Rising? Why have they not mentioned Doom Eternal? These games are clearly really good. Why is it not on the list? Why are they not even honorable mentions? It's because they came out in December. So those games will be qualifying for our Game of the Years in 2021. So both of those games will, possibly show up on our list, and some other games that came out in December of 2020. So that's just a change we're making this year, just to make sure that we get enough time with those games. Some of those times, like a couple of years ago, speaking of Xenoblade, Barry only got just like a couple days with it, changed his opinion afterwards, but we already did our Game of the Year awards, and so we want to make sure that we're giving ample time to those games. So as what happens a lot of times with award shows and things like that, we're just going to rope in December to the following year. So we're going to move into our Game of the Year picks, overall picks from the Nintendo Switch this year. And this is all the different categories that we've talked about, other than the non-Nintendo categories that we've talked about tonight. All these games are games that we have mentioned already. And so we don't necessarily need to talk about, we're not going to talk about them like a lot more. You're not going to hear us say the same exact thing again about these games. But so this category will go a little faster, but we're going to award our overall Game of the Year very soon. Let's start off with number 3, Barry. What's your overall Game of the Year for 2020? Number 3.
This was a little tougher to come down, and how I wanted to break it down and what order did I want to really put things in. But This tells you how good of a year it is when a Zelda game hits number 3 for me. Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity was my number 3 game of the year. I fell in love with it. I definitely recommend this game. It's just a lot of fun. But it hit my number 3 because it just that's where it fell, and it's just awesome.
Nice. All right, Greg, going on to you for number 3.
So number 3 was just a game that I was just like raving about towards the beginning of the podcast, and that was my favorite indie game, and that was With the Golf. That really took me by surprise how much fun I had playing a loosely based golf game. So definitely well earned, and very good job, well done by the developers and publisher.
Nice. That's cool. Number 3 for me is also an indie game. I really enjoy Evergate, and it was my number 3 overall game. It's a game that I said that I knew I would like, but I didn't realize how much I would like it. It plays on all the different things that I really enjoy. I didn't talk about the music as well, the atmospheric sounds that they just really pulls you in and just grabs you as a gamer. If you enjoy challenges, if you enjoy puzzles, if you enjoy platforming, all those different things, if you enjoy looking at something that's just beautiful and moving, it's a fantastic game, and worthy of number 3 overall for me this year. Barry, number 2.
This was a really tough one. This one really put me down. My number 1 and my number 2 were literally like the equivalent of dueling dragons. It was intertwined, and I had to think one way or another, and just when it really boiled down to the fact that one of these is a complete game, and the other one technically is only part 1, and that one is the equivalent of Avengers: Infinity War, and that is The Legend of Heroes: Trails of Cold Steel 3. Phenomenal game, absolutely worth your time, and it leaves on a cliffhanger that will make you immediately want to pop in the 4th game, and that is simply that after 80 hours of this epic game, you're really only playing one half of the true game. So it's not like Final Fantasy VII Remake where they took one big game and split it in 2. No, there's just enough content, and this was designed this way, much like the Avengers movies. It was designed to be 2 parts, and is absolutely worth it, and hits my number 2.
Nice. All right, Greg, what's your number 2?
All right, so this was a series first for me that had, obviously if I put in over 400 some hours into it, it definitely deserves to be here. That's Animal Crossing New Horizons. So we've spent so much time playing this game and really got into a lot, and it has me really questioning to pick up the older games in the series. So definitely a well-deserved pick, and definitely the game of a very good game to occupy your time for in the year that we had this year. So number 2.
Nice. All right. Moving on to that I really thought that this game that I put at number 2 would be number 1. Honestly, when it first got announced, but there was a time factor that got played into it, and when I put these two games together, first and second, I really had to look at across the board, like, which one have I put more time with, which one have I desired to put more time with, which one have I put off other things to play this game, and which one have I not put off to play this game. And so while it does pain me to say, I did put Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity at number 2. Like I said, strictly because there have been other games that I want to play, and I haven't. Like, if it was number 1, I would have put off the other things to play Hyrule Warriors, and I haven't. So while it's a fantastic game, it hasn't made me put off other things like my number 1 pick has. So that's my number 2, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. All right, moving into our overall pick. And before I say I go into this at all, let me just revisit the fact that we've had so many different picks across the board, and so as you can tell, only a couple repeats from any of our categories, really. Nintendo category, we had some repeats, and overall we got some repeats, but not nearly that many repeats at all. So before we get into it, I just want to let you know it's ahead of time. This is the case, and how we calculated the overall game of the year. Wow, this was one of the tightest races we've ever had, only because games only were mentioned so many times. So it's not like we were dealing with like 10 points and 11 points and 10 points. No, it was more like a couple points to a couple points because our picks were so varied. But with that being said, Barry, let's go to you for your overall pick of the game of the year for 2020.
Well, the other half of that Dueling Dragon that for me takes it, just that came out this year. The best story, the best gameplay, the best of everything. And that had to go to Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition with Future Connected. The amount of content in that one game is huge. It took me probably about 60 to 70 hours just going through the story, and I didn't do everything because I had done it already the first time. You know, then you have an extra 20 hours in Future Connected. It is a massive, fantastic world that really needs to be explored. It is just so good. It is just so unbelievable, and it is one of those once in a generation style games. And it was last generation's game that got remade for more people to experience. And there was a reason Operation Rainfall existed. There was a reason we begged for this game, and it absolutely warranted it. And everybody should play it.
Nice. It's a quality game. If I'm going to play one, I'm probably going to go to 2 before I go to 1.
That's fine. That's fair. 2 is honestly a little bit better in my opinion, but they're so close. It's like a 9.9 to a 9.8 kind of deal, or a 9.85.
Nice. Cool. Well, congratulations, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition as Barry's Game of the Year for 2020. Now, time to move on to Greg. What is your Game of the Year for 2020, Greg?
Well, I was almost going to pick Xenoblade, but I already knew somebody else was going to pick it. So I actually had to go with my number 1 Switch game. I've never felt more compelled from experiencing this particular demo, and that had to be Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I know it's port of an existing game, and it's been out before, but it's truly taken me by storm, and I don't think that I can resist not buying it and trying to finish it off.
Nice. It's a quality game. I'm pretty sure I need to look back at my list at some point. I think I made it. It was in my top list of Game of the Year for Wii U that year. I don't know if it was my overall pick, but I know it was in my top 3 for sure. Fantastic game. So cool. Congratulations to Pikmin 3 for being Greg's overall Game of the Year. Yes. But unfortunately, it didn't come out this year. So I had to go with a brand new game that did come out this year. And honestly, it's the game that, beyond Rocket League, that I played the most. And I found myself putting off other things that I need to do to play this game. And it's not the game that's like, oh my gosh, amazing storyline. It's not the game that, there's so much action packed and just draws you in and you want to like be in that, like that, all that, the stuff that's going on. No, but it was the game that I played the most, and that's really why Animal Crossing New Horizons won out to me. It hit this year where we needed a game like this, like I've talked about before, and it is immersive in a different way than other games are, and it made me want to check in every day and find out what those little characters are doing and kind of just lose myself in that world. And I did for a lot of hours this year, way more hours than I really hoped to ever admit. And like lately, I have finally stepped away from it, but it still hurts me because like every day I go back, it's like I really do want to play Animal Crossing, but I'm able to like pull away and do some other things that I need to do, but I don't feel that way about other games. Like if a day goes by and I don't play, I feel a little bit Rocket League, but Hyrule Warriors, for instance, I'm like, I'll eventually get to it. but Animal Crossing is one of those games that if I don't play that day, I go, you know what? I really should have played Animal Crossing. I missed playing today, and that there's something special about that, and so that's why Animal Crossing New Horizons is my overall Game of the Year for 2020. So, with that being said, so how we calculate this, if you guys are new to the podcast, new to our Game of the Year awards, we give points based on where games landed in our overall winner category. And if there are any ties, different things like that, we look at how many times it showed up on the list of the overall Game of the Year award category. And then if there's ties or whatever beyond that, then we look at the additional categories and kind of go back there. And we have had to do that in the past. We've had to go back. I think last year to find third place. Yeah. I had to go back like 2 or 3 categories deep to finally find out who got third place. This year, first and second were pretty easy to determine. Third place required a little bit more work, but let me tell you, we give 3 points to the first place winners. We give 2 points to second place, and we give 1 point to third place, so kind of in reverse. And there was 1 point, 2 points differentiating first and second and third. There's actually a tie for second and third, and the only thing that broke that tie up was how many times second popped up on the list for us three. So, number 3 for the Game of the Year awards from NintendoFuse collectively is Pikmin 3. So Pikmin 3 came in with 3 points, was Greg's number 1 pick. There got 3 points. Also with 3 points, but showing up twice on the list, was Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity as number 2 Game of the Year. Showed up twice, had a first a second and a third pick, adding up to 3 points, but because it was on the list twice, beat out Pikmin 3. And number 1 was Animal Crossing New Horizons, showing up as a number 1 pick and a number 2 pick with 5 points total. So 5, 3, and 3. That's what we're looking at this year in terms of points and how that broke down.
I'm calling snub right here. Xenoblade also got 3 points.
Oh, sorry. Yes. That's my bad.
Yeah.
So when I mentioned that, yes. So the reason it did was because that's when I had to go back through the category to find out third place. So Xenoblade actually. So let's take it a little further. 2 other places. Xenoblade ended up in 4th, also with 3 points, and Cold Steel 3 ended up in 5th with 2 points. So the reason why Pikmin 3 beat out Xenoblade was because Pikmin 3 also ended up on other lists more than Xenoblade did. So
that's just because you two need to pick better games.
But yes, technically it was a kind of a 3-way tie with the points for second place, and then we had to look at the other factors there. So yeah, I think it tells you, like, I think was it Jakester? Oh wow, so much chatting has happened since the last time I looked at that. But someone mentioned, like, just forgot that this year had so many good games. And I think sometimes we do that. We kind of forget, in the middle of all the chaos of 2020, that this year did bring us some really quality games, and that was really good. I mean, sure, we would have loved to have more. We would have had to, love to have a lot of those games that have been pushed off to 2021 and those different things. But we really did have a good year of gaming. Yeah. Do you, Barry, any thoughts as we do wrap up our Game of the Year podcast, wrap up for 2020? Any closing thoughts about this year in gaming?
Honestly, yeah, I'm not a fan of those years where, we all have the same number 1s, we all have the same number 2s, we all have the same number 3s. I think those are the most boring years. Even though those games may be worth it and absolutely, like, and I hate to say, like 2017, if you go back and listen, Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey dominated all our lists. And it was, it's why pick Odyssey? Well, I also pick Odyssey. Well, I also pick Odyssey. Like, it gets boring when you're talking about the same game. And one thing I've seen, like, in the chats, are people like, oh, I never even seen this game. Oh, I've never heard of this one. Oh, this one looks good. It really lets gaming shine. It lets all these lesser known titles really get their spot in the spotlight. And I love years like this where we all have different tastes. We all have different genres we love and different styles of games we love and different play styles and different time and different lives. And here we get to really, give the time to the best of the best and really talk about the best of the best that we don't always get to do. And hopefully people listen to this and go, oh, I've never heard of this, or, oh, I really need to give this more a shot, or maybe will give this a try. And hopefully you can find some of your best games in our lists, and I hope that's the case. But any year that is this diversive with all these different types of games, I think is a good one. And considering that the year as is 2020, you would think that we would have great games in January, February, and March, and then maybe a little in April and May, and then the rest of the year would be blah. But no, it never stopped. We got surprises, we got great games released, we had fun experiences, and we're not even touching December. And December, like you mentioned, had some big releases. So it was honestly a great year in terms of games across the board, not just on the Switch, just across the board on all platforms. And I think as gamers, we're blessed. We are spoiled and blessed to have all these great games at our fingertips that we could just play and enjoy. And especially with quarantine, we're supposed to be inside. Well, now's no better time than now to enjoy some of these great games we talked about tonight.
Absolutely. Greg, any closing thoughts on the Game of the Year or the games of this year in gaming?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much Barry said pretty much what all of us want to say. I mean, obviously with having to quarantine, that's perfect for gamers of all that enjoy all systems and platforms. So we've seen like splurges and like Animal Crossing like surge, like it's going to be passing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in terms of sales soon, and that came out this year. So it's like it has to be a feat to say that like, oh, a lot of people knew that we'd be, or after figuring we had to be pretty much at home and stay at home orders and what other things to do than to play games. I mean, it's one of the most immersive things, and I obviously enjoyed talking about this. That's why we're still doing this episode 216. So it's been one heck of a year. Great games on all platforms, and all very well deserving things to be mentioned tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really cool for Nintendo, in the middle of all this stuff. We talked about them canceling all this stuff and probably taking a lot of people off last episode and all this different stuff, but they're still topping the list in terms of like how many consoles they're selling. I mean, there's still, people want to play these games. And aside from Nintendo as well, I mean, we had some great as we talked about tonight, some great games that came out on other systems and continue to come out on other systems. I'm excited. I think we're all excited about where video games are going in the future. We have some amazing games that we are anticipating for 2021. We're going to talk about our predictions at our next episode. So we won't, get into that tonight, but just know that we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to that predictions episode, which will be next time. Because there's some cool stuff that we know is coming out, and there's some other stuff that we can only speculate about because of where it seems like the gaming industry is going. So even in the middle of pandemic and all that stuff, we have a lot of stuff to be thankful for, because there's some great quality games that some developers have been able to put out this year for our enjoyment, and that's so cool. So let's quickly move on to one quick headline, and then we'll talk about what's coming up over the next couple weeks, and then we'll wrap up this episode. So one quick headline, you guys can find out more information about this at NintendoFuse.com, but we got some more NES and SNES games that came to Switch Online. They're going to be coming out on December 18th, and that list again is on our website, NintendoFuse.com, but on the NES, you're going to be able to play Nightshade, and on SNES, you're going to be able to play Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble, The Ignition Factor, Super Valis 4, and Tough Enough. 4 games on the SNES, so it continues to grow, but there's a lot of games that we still wish were on there, but yeah, we got 4 new SNES games, 1 new NES game, kind of holding on. Maybe 2021 will give us more games more often, but I'm not holding my breath. But if you have NES Online, SNES Online, you can check those out essentially for free. All right, well, let's move on. Like we said, we're going to be back in January, so we're going to quickly just look at all the games that are coming out over the next few weeks. And there's some cool games on the list. That some of them coming out like right around Christmas time, New Year, things like that. So as we scroll through those games on the screen, you guys are going to be able to see those as well. But one of the games that I'm interested, or series of games that I'm interested in that I didn't think were coming to the Switch, were the Bit Trip games. Are actually coming out in just a few days. So that whole series of games that led to Runner 2 and Runner 3, they're coming out to Switch. What are you guys hoping to play over the next couple weeks? What's like standing out to you of new games? Sometimes this is the season where they just kind of like throw out the rest of the stuff before the end of the year. But there are some decent games that are coming out pretty soon. Barry, anything stand out to you?
Nothing of what's really coming out is standing out to me. What I plan to do is I plan to finish Jedi Fallen Order and then either move on to Ys Origin or move on to Ghost of Tsushima. One of them, I haven't figured out which yet, but I do want to finish Jedi Fallen Order. And of course, Animal Crossing. Got to get all those recipes because they're limited by time.
Nice. Yes, I actually need to jump back into it and try to get a good snowman. We'll see. Greg, what are you hoping to play over the next couple weeks, whether it be brand new games or some of your backlog?
It's probably be more of the backlog and ongoing games. Over the holidays, I'll be getting Age of Calamity, so we'll probably see why it wasn't in my list tonight, along with Immortals: Phoenix Rising is also I'll be getting that one as well. And then I've already said how Pikmin 3 is already pretty much convinced me to buy me from Christmas and everything. Get that and sees or once I get a surprise gift of it. So it'll pretty much just be backlog games for the most part, along with continuing on with my daughters, Mario Kart and Mario Odyssey and stuff like that.
Cool. Yeah, I'm hoping to get back into work some more on Immortals, get a little bit more time in. I did post my gameplay, kind of my opening gameplay on our channel. So if you haven't checked that out, you guys can and see, maybe how bad I am at the game. I'm playing on an easy setting, so hopefully not that bad. But yeah, also really excited about getting more into Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, and see what all the commotion is about the end of the game. But and of course continuing in Rocket League and Animal Crossing, pretty much like always. But yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to over the next few weeks. I probably won't be getting those Bit Trip games, but it's kind of cool just to know that they're coming over. So that's it's interesting and kind of a surprise. But yeah, that brings us to the end of 2020, the end of episode 216, and yeah, Game of the Year awards all over, and we have a lot to look forward to in 2021. Like we said, we'll be back in January. So kind of
what, 5th?
Yeah, 5th or the next week. Yeah, we'll look at it, and we got to still decide what works out for us. So either first or second week. So we'll take a few weeks, at least a couple weeks off. So like we said, we have a lot of back episodes. If you miss us for some reason, you guys can listen to an old episode for sure. I need to get those other like really old ones up again soon. So cool that Hassan found those recordings, so hopefully we can get those up soon, so you guys can like listen to the old ones at some point. But yeah, next episode, like I said earlier, is going to be predictions. That's always a fun episode as well. We get to look at what the next year ahead might hold, and maybe glance back at 2020 and see how awful we did with our predictions this year.
That could be a good episode for you to listen to in the break. Is go back to the beginning of this year and listen to the 2020 predictions and how awfully wrong we were.
Yeah, because all of us predicted there'd be a pandemic. Oh man, guys, it's been great to be with you all tonight. Both Greg, Barry, it's always great to talk with you guys, but it's so great to chat with you guys. We had so much fun, so much going on in the chat tonight. I love that like we didn't cover half of what you guys were talking about because there's just so much conversation going on. That's so awesome. Be sure to follow us on social media if you haven't done so yet. We're at NintendoFuse on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Be sure to join our Discord. We absolutely love talking with you guys in the Discord, so be sure to join that on the screen in the show notes and in the YouTube description as well. Hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the bell, all those different things. Subscribe, and we will see you guys next time in 2021. How crazy is that? So, but until then, happy gaming, everybody.
Have a good one.
Catch you later.